to stand up strong, think the truth about themselves, to understand what went wrong. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way to stand up, stand up, stand up.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. I am James Hake. I am obviously not Jesse Lee Peterson, although I'm almost dark enough. I went to the beach on Sunday. We're uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies, including the white supremacy lie and the lie that Proud Boys is something to condemn, even though the president did condemn them. I will be getting to that along with you and our beautiful experts who are here, those of them who are here, in the second hour. But first, I want to play for you something very special. It is Friday, by the way. It is Get It Off Your Chest Friday. Yesterday was Get It Off Your Chest Thursday on the Jesse Lee Peterson show because Jesse Lee Peterson was here Thursday. He is out today along with his trusty producer, Nico. The Fallen State, I believe, is having an episode today. Am I right? Yes, The Fallen State, noon today. Make sure you check it out. It's a premiere on the Fallen State YouTube channel. Church with Jesse Lee Peterson will be live. You can call in, not right now, but you will be able to call in after this first hour. I want to present to you a nice throwback. Jesse Lee Peterson has done media over the last 30 years plus, and I have a 55-minute clip of an episode, a TV episode, on which Jesse Lee Peterson appeared from 2004, November 2004. On one episode, he showed up around 15 minutes in after they started to talk about race and discrimination and racial profiling and stuff. And then he goes in and points the way for these poor young people from 2004 who are misguided enough to feel like victims. It is an interesting interview and TV discussion. So check it out. We were going to play the first episode and then a portion of the following week because it made such a stir. So here is Jesse Lee Peterson on the Larry Elder TV show. Roll it.
Taking control of your life. That's what this show is all about. How you doing? How you doing? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Feel like I should run for office. Appreciate it. All right, today we're going to talk about some controversial forms of racial discrimination. Later in the show, we'll talk to two women who say not only did they not get hired for jobs they were applying for and were qualified for, they didn't even get a job interview. Why not? Well, they say it's because of their black-sounding names. But first question, do you believe that blacks get stopped by the police just because they're black? Our first guest says he's been pulled over, get this, 100 times. 100 times. Here's more of Antonio Lomax's story.
Racial profiling is not just a police officer stopping someone in their car. It just takes so many forms. You know what I mean? It's prevalent. It happens to us every day. I was harassed yesterday by the police, as a matter of fact. Unfortunately, I'm defined by the mistakes that I've made in my past. The police, hey, he's a convicted felon. We know he's a convicted felon. He must be doing something. So I'm getting stopped all the time. Police don't have to know where I'm from to stop you. You know, if you fit a certain description, the braids in my hair, a do-rag on my head, earrings in my ears, the type of car that you may have, we feel like all going to the bar, and we know we're gonna be going, you know, it's gonna be four or five of us in a truck or something like that, we ride in my white friend's car. We won't get stopped. Guaranteed. I mean, we all know that if we ride in his truck, we're fine, no matter what we're doing.
This is Antonio Lomax and Sandra Seegers. Sandra is a taxi cab commissioner in Washington, D.C., who says some profiling is actually necessary. Antonio, let me start with you. 100 times?
100
times?
Yes, over 100 times. I was actually just giving your producers a number. It's been more. I get stopped on an average of 2 days out of the week.
Because?
Well, unfortunately, fruits of a misspent youth, let's say. I'm defined by the mistakes that I've made in the past.
What kind of mistakes?
I've been convicted. I'm a convicted felon, almost 3-time convicted felon.
Convicted of?
I was convicted of armed robbery, drug possession, and drug manufacture.
Did you serve your time?
Yes, I paid my debt to society.
So when you're going down the street, no one can tell that you've been convicted?
Well, no one can tell that you've been convicted.
So it still doesn't explain why you got pulled over all those times?
It doesn't.
And what do you think?
No, it doesn't. Well, I believe that, unfortunately, I fit a profile to which our society adheres to.
Sandra, do you think he has a right to be upset about it?
Yeah, he should be, but that's life now. And there's a certain look, because I'm a taxi cab commissioner, there's a certain look that's profiled. There's a certain look, and he just said it. So why would he continue to look that way if he knows that's the way they're going to stop him?
Excuse me.
It's a white man's world. You're judged by the company you keep. The book is judged by the cover.
Yes.
And one bad apple spoils the bunch.
I agree. I do agree. But where does it end? Where does it stop? When do we set a limit?
And wait a second. Sandra, what do you mean it's a white man's world?
That's it. We just have a small role in this world. The white man controls everything.
So you're saying Antonio should just suck it up and recognize that he's going to be unfairly pulled over, and we just have to deal with it.
Now,
that to me is almost as outrageous as being stopped for 100 times.
Well, that's true too, but that's life.
I mean, no. That's not life.
It is life.
That's not life. That's called harassment.
And you need to file a lawsuit. Yeah, and get paid. But that's how it is now. You dress a certain way, you have the gangster look, or whatever they call it now.
What does a gangster look like?
With the baggy pants, the hat on back, with the shirt longer.
That's what a gangster look like?
Yes, that's the look.
Do you have any children, man?
No, I have nephews and nieces and godchildren.
No children.
No children.
Now, see, this is very easy.
I'm black myself. I don't have to have children. I'm black.
Okay.
I'm black. I don't have to have children.
We can see that.
I don't have to have children.
I'm just saying, my point is, it's very easy. The system works.
I don't have children either, Antonio, so therefore we shouldn't have an opinion?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
Wait a minute, Antonio, are you telling us that people ought not draw any conclusions, make any assumptions, have any impression based on the way you look?
Absolutely.
Based on the way you dress?
Absolutely. What I'm saying is that, you know what I mean?
You're saying absolutely.
Someone who doesn't, it's very easy for someone who the system works for to say that it works. I mean, it's working for you. It's never worked against you.
Oh,
it's never worked against you.
You know what? I've been stopped before because I am black. I don't care. Because
I
don't care. The reason I don't care is because I know I didn't do anything.
I'm a 2-time convicted felon.
I know I didn't do anything.
The more I get stopped, it makes me,
I didn't do anything. When they stop me, they ask me questions, I show them my ID, and I move on. I don't care.
It does not bother you that you are stopped because you are a black woman.
No,
it does not bother you that you are detained well beyond when you are supposed to be simply because you are black. The color of your skin, you have done nothing. Are you even been written a ticket?
In most cases, yeah, I had a ticket before.
Okay.
But most cases, when they stop you, they have a person they're looking for. A couple weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, I was going to be stopped.
I'm not accepting the idea that just because you are black, you're being pulled over. I'd like to know what else is going on. Let me give you an example. I was born here in L.A. in an area called Pico Union.
Okay.
Pretty bad area. A couple of young kids from USC College were busted because they were down there trying to buy drugs. They were white.
Okay.
And the police know at 2 o'clock in the morning in this area where there's a lot of drug dealing going on, if you are a white person, you are there for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to buy drugs.
Absolutely.
So they got racially profiled. Nobody said anything, but like a black guy get pulled over, and then all of a sudden there's a beef.
Well, it is a beef because the world is much bigger than where you're from. Now, granted, you're right. In a all-black neighborhood, if I see 3 white kids out at 2 o'clock in the morning, of course, we all know why they're out there. Yes, we all know why they're out there. But unfortunately, society says that if I see a black man riding down your block, oh, I know why he's out there, too.
All right, now, Antonio, you get stopped sometimes because you're not wearing your seatbelt, right?
No, I can stop because I am wearing my seatbelt, but it's the easiest way for them to stop me and not have to write a ticket. You see, in Chicago, they have to do, and if you
always
get
get a
stopped, it
ticket?
has to
You
be
always
something
get a
called
ticket?
probable cause. No, that's the thing. I never get a ticket.
They just
I
lock
don't
you up.
speed. I get my seatbelt on. I'm
Like a lady
a
back in the
Nazarite
car like
right now.
this?
And
I'm a Nazarite. I have to be. I have to be.
Antonio, have you?
Well, you know what? It's my car.
Antonio, have you filed a complaint?
Have I filed a complaint, Larry? I filed
You got
complaints.
stopped 100 times. Have you filed a complaint?
Yes, I filed complaints. I filed complaints
what
at
they do?
several
They throw it
police
out.
stations.
And what happened?
Absolutely. They throw it out. It's nothing I can do.
But you know what?
It's nothing
What has
it's nothing
happened,
I can
though,
do. I just want to know.
Once you get a record,
Okay.
you're in their computer.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
young black man, light eyes, cornrows, just robbed the bank. You're going to get stopped.
And should.
You're going to get stopped.
And should.
Right. Well,
I mean, don't you want the police to
a
be
middle-aged
proactive?
black man with a mustache and short hair
He'll
just
get
robbed the
stopped.
bank.
He'll
He's
get
going to get
stopped.
stopped, of course.
That's
But you're talking about specific incidents.
No, it's a
in
whole
which,
bunch of
no, that's
incidents
not
where
true.
black people do
That's not
things or
true.
white people do
That's
things.
not true.
If a woman gets just ripped
That's
off some
not true.
people
So what do we
that
all
fit
look
my
alike?
description, stop me. I don't
We
care
all
if they
look
stop
alike.
me. If
No,
the shoe
see,
fits,
that's you.
if the shoe fits
That's
fair.
you don't care. I care if
don't
they
care.
stop me because you know what?
Did you do anything? If you
Unfortunately-
didn't do anything, just move on.
I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that, Mom.
Well,
it does
maybe I'm
not
not
work
used to
like
that,
that.
but it
I'm
works
sorry.
like that.
I have
They
a
stop
criminal
me, I don't
record.
Wait,
care.
Sandra
I don't
Antonio,
care.
I have a very close buddy who's a police officer with a local police department.
Okay.
Went on a ride along with him. He's white. Went on a ride along with him. Nighttime, car comes down the street, no headlights on. Car pulls into a gas station, we pull up behind him. Guy gets out of the car, he's black. First thing he says is, you pulled me over because I'm black. We couldn't even tell what race he was. His partner said the same thing. When my friend and I went back to the department, I said to him, how often when you pull over a black car, or a car driven by a black person, does that person say, you pulled me over because I'm black? He said 80% of the time they make that complaint. I then saw a black officer. I said the same thing to him. When you pull over a car with a black driver, how often does that black driver accuse you of pulling him over because he's black or calling you Uncle Tom or something like that? He said 30% of the time. Now, what does that tell you?
Well,
Tells me a lot of people are whining and crying just because they're black. I'm not saying it was your situation.
No.
It tells me a lot of people play the race card when they get pulled over.
I'm not placing blame. I have accepted what I've done. And I accepted the fact that, you know what, I just might have to be defined by a mistake that I made when I was 14, 15 years old, a life that I chose.
Can we agree that most police officers, most of them, are just trying to do their jobs? They want to get up in the morning, they want to go in, they want to come home, kiss their wife.
But let's not forget that there are police officers who are not just doing their jobs. That's all I'm saying. Let's not minimize what's really going on. You know what I mean? Let's not minimize that.
I tell you what,
Every
I
police
don't want
officer's
the
not
police
bad.
hands tied. If you didn't do anything, they won't bother you. You know what? They may take you in and let you go. But so what it's like. If somebody raped me, robbed me, and I give them a description of short hair, gray hair, beard, stop everyone that looks like that. Because it may be him.
Yeah,
Stop. I want the police to do their job.
I hear you. But until that happens, I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, right, exactly. You're just going to continue except being stopped and detained. You are, you know, you're being compliant with.
Well,
You are conformist.
They have to stop you until they find out it wasn't you or was you. One way or the other. Either it was or wasn't. If it wasn't you,
Stopping somebody
let it
solely
go.
because they're black is illegal.
Yes,
it is
illegal. But unfortunately,
taking race into consideration as one of many variables, time of day, what you're driving,
Absolutely.
whether or not they're looking for another suspect.
Absolutely.
High crime area is perfectly legitimate. That's perfectly legitimate. Now, it's not fair for you to be stopped 100 times if just because you're black you were stopped. That's not fair. And I'm not condoning that. All I'm suggesting is most cops don't do that. Most cops are trying to do their jobs. There's some bad apples,
Yes.
there's some bad lawyers, there's some bad doctors, there's some bad everything. Okay?
Larry, if we can apply that same philosophy to our officers who protect us every day, why can't we apply that to our children who make mistakes? Not all of them who are driving cars are criminals.
Fair enough. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to a young man who's been stopped 25 to 30 times since he was 16, yet he's never been convicted of a crime, never been arrested for a crime. We're going to talk to him next. Don't go away.
I've been stopped by police and law enforcement about 30 times. I do not believe I was stopped on all these occasions because I was doing something wrong, but because of the color of my skin.
And I see all of these floodlights pointed at us, and then I see all these officers with guns pointed directly at me, and I'm like, I just froze.
We're back talking about racial profiling. Antonio admits that he's been in trouble with the law. He has several convictions on his record. However, our next guest has no criminal record of any kind, yet he says he can't walk out of his door without being stopped by the police. Here's Cortez Jordan's story.
Racial profiling is a major problem in our city. Since the age of 16, I have been stopped by police and law enforcement about 30 times. I do not believe I was stopped on all these occasions because I was doing something wrong, but because of the color of my skin. Most recently, when I was walking across the street with a group of my Caucasian friends, I was stopped and singled out of the group by an officer who said he stopped me because he believed I was carrying a weapon by the way I was walking. It was extremely humiliating to be stopped in front of my friends. I have never committed any crimes or carried any weapons, ever. I actually work with middle school programs, try and relate to them that they don't need to be involved in violent behavior and try and provide them with positive alternatives to these type of things. Racial profiling is happening in the United States of America in 2004, and that it is everybody's problem.
This is Cortez Jordan and Jesse Lee Peterson. Jesse is a radio host who believes that racial profiling can save lives. Let's start with Cortez. You've been stopped by the police how many times?
Between 25 to 30 times since the age of 16.
Are you always dressed the way you're dressed now?
I'm not always dressed the way I'm dressed now, no. I'd like to make a point, though, that I don't have any type of criminal record. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and the incidents that I've been addressing in my city, Eugene, Oregon, this is the 4th complaint I filed against the city of Eugene's police department.
What's the racial composition of Eugene?
It's about 0.05 African American. So it's less than 1%.
So it's like you're the only one.
Yeah, pretty much.
There goes Cortez. Let's get him.
But the point I'm trying to make, though, is, you know, I've heard what she said about, you know, that it saves lives and it's helping people, but it's actually really hindering me. And I'm trying to do my job. I work for an organization that is largely Caucasian. It's really difficult sometimes to break these negative stereotypes that people basically have of me. And I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm actually doing my job and I'm being harassed.
Jesse, officers will tell you that racial profiling is a legitimate police tool.
Yes, yeah. It is necessary. You know, I've been stopped by police officers many times too. And when I was younger, I used to get angry about it because I had been told that it's because I'm black. And so whenever, especially a white cop stopped me, I automatically get angry. But I realized that over the last 40 years or so, not all black Americans, of course, but most have not disciplined their children. You know, crime is out of control in the black community. And so we ask the officers to come in and protect us. And when they come in, we get upset about it.
So what about incidents?
I was getting upset because I had been told by the so-called black leadership that it's racial profiling. They're coming after you because you're black, and I had no one else telling me anything differently than that. But when I dropped my anger and realized that sometimes the good have to suffer with the bad, it's easier now for me to go through that.
But in the case of Cortez...
What about incidences of when that's not the case? I'm a disciplined person, first of all. I was raised with a strong moral fiber. The last time I was stopped, I was walking across the street with 4 of my Caucasian friends, and I was stopped because the officer said by the way he saw me walking, I looked like I was carrying a weapon.
Were you?
But you know...
They didn't let you go. They didn't let you go.
It's a fair question. Were you?
No, I do not carry weapons.
You think some officer saw you walking down the street and said, "Hey, black guy, I think I'll go and bust him"?
Let me ask you this.
I'm asking you.
Let me ask you this.
Answer my question first,
Yes, I do, because you know what? He didn't even follow his own procedure. If he truly believed I have a weapon, why did he not call backup? Because that's the way they do their procedure.
Right.
He came up to me and said, I believe you have a weapon. I said, well, where are the other cars? Because if I really thought somebody had a weapon and I was an officer, I would take every precaution, and they are trained to do that.
Right.
And he didn't believe that. He pulled me out of a group of 4 other people, had me come out. He didn't search any of them for weapons. If he thought it was a dangerous situation, he would have stopped them and asked them for weapons.
Jesse,
he stopped me and only addressed me.
Sounds to me like he has been pulled over, stopped just because he was black.
Well, if what he's saying is true, it's unfortunate that he has to go through that. But he should understand that it's because of we have not taken responsibility within the black community. Another thing too is that these young people
taking responsibility for what? What are we taking responsibility for?
These young people tend to
Are we guilty for everything?
give the officers attitudes too. You know, when they stop, they get loudmouth, they go off on the cops. And so the cops become uneasy because they don't know what they're dealing with at that point.
I think the cops get intimidated because I'm articulate. I think that's really what it comes down to. When the officer stopped me, he thought I was gonna just, you know, spit some game at him, and I didn't. I was like, sir, you're violating my civil rights. I have a right to assembly. I can walk across the street without being stopped. Okay? And if you truly believe that I'm a danger, why are you not stopping these other people that are with me? If you really believe that. Two of my friends were visibly intoxicated, and he didn't say anything to them. Was he really concerned about the safety of me and my party? He didn't know who was driving. He didn't ask any of those questions.
You were with some whites too, weren't you?
I was with 4 Caucasians. I was the only African American in the group.
But what you have to realize, the officer is not stopping you to articulate. He's just doing a routine check.
He's doing a routine check.
If you follow his instructions,
he's doing his
you
job.
wouldn't have to go through that. But if you give him mouth,
he didn't lock him up. He didn't lock him up. He didn't lock him up. He didn't have a gun. He looked like he had a gun. He didn't.
How did he look like he had a gun?
Maybe he had a bulge. Maybe he had a bulge.
Come on, no, that's.
And he didn't lock him up. He let him go.
You know what, though?
He let him go. He got him a record.
You know what? I got a bulge right now. What I got on me?
I don't know.
I got a bulge in my
right now.
I got a bulge.
Security! Security! You got a bulge right now.
You know what I mean? I got a gun. I got a gun.
Hold on. Go ahead, Cortez.
The thing about it is, though, is that if I'm doing the right thing, if you're doing the right thing, you should be treated with respect and dignity. And that's all I do. The thing about it is, no, that's not true. Here's the thing. Here's something I'd like to address. I have done 5 trainings with the City of Eugene's police department about racial profiling. I work for the same organization that actually stopped me. I work for the City of Eugene. I work with youth. I work at a swimming pool. I'm an assistant manager. I do all sorts of programs trying to keep youth and give them, you know, keep them off the streets, give them positive alternatives. I'm a positive force in my community. So if you're going to continue to put pressure and intimidate and harass the positive force in your community, guess what? They're going to leave. They're not going to. They're not going to. I got a question.
And Cortez, there are certain cops that are bad cops. We know that. Yeah. They're bad cops, they're bad doctors, they're bad lawyers, they're bad in everything. But most of them are trying to do their job. Okay. Let me finish. When I was young, I just got my driver's license when I was 15 and a half, 16, and I got stopped 30, 40 times because I looked young. And they pulled me over and they said, I'm sorry, you look too young. I see your license. I was polite. They were polite. With 1 or 2 exceptions. 1 or 2 cops said something that I thought was inappropriate. I filed a complaint one time. Nothing much happened. But for the most part, the cops who pulled me over explained to me why they pulled me over. Yeah. And it was that.
You said that, you know, the majority of police officers are good people.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I keep hearing the both of you say is that there are some people in the African American community that cause problems, so the rest of us should suffer for that. And you know what? The majority of African Americans are good people.
That's true.
Okay? You know what? You just say there's some people, there's some images that are projected out there.
Hold on. But Cortez, let's also be honest. Yeah. Out of a small percentage of young black men comes a high percentage of crime. Yeah. That is a fact.
You know what, though?
Most young black men don't commit crime. That is true. But 25% of young black men have criminal records in the city.
Can I say something?
That's a lot of people.
85% of white men, of all serial killers, were white men. Does that mean every white man is a serial killer?
Thank you.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. Why are we defined?
We're going to take a break. Okay, Antonio, calm down. You're not being profiled now. Calm down. When we come back, we're going to meet some college kids who were held at gunpoint by campus police. Was it because of their race? Don't go away. Do you believe that this was an aberration, or do you believe that most cops racially profile black people?
We believe they racially profile black
people. Yes, they do.
Yes, we do.
Most officers are simply trying to do their job, and they have dangerous jobs, and we ought to appreciate and respect what they're doing for us out there every day.
I agree.
And make sure that we weed out the bad ones. You hire people in your organization.
I do.
You got a resume, and it said Tikwa Jones or Mary Jones. You wouldn't call Tikwa Jones back because her name is Tikwa?
Most likely, no.
We're talking with people who say they've been victims of racial profiling. When my next guest came back from a college party, they never imagined that they would find themselves surrounded at gunpoint by the police. Please welcome Vanessa, Monique, and Marcy.
Thank you all for coming. What happened that night?
Well, we were coming from a party. We got a ride with a friend that was in one of my classes, and Marcy had
And
noticed.
what race was your friend?
He was Hispanic.
By the way, what's the racial composition of your school?
85% white.
Yeah, 85% white and probably maybe 10% African American.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we noticed that a campus police officer was following our car as we pulled in front of our student union. The next thing you know, we're hearing over a PA system, you know, driver, get out of the car with your hands up. So we looked like, what did we do?
Right, but we thought nothing of it because the driver, you know, we were like, okay, we're females. They're not going to do us wrong because usually they don't. So the driver got out, and then once they told, you know, the back passenger to get out, and then from there, it was just chaotic.
Terrible. I was the second person to get out the car after the driver, and what I got out the car to was about 9 police officers from the city, from the Macomb, which is our campus, our county police, from the campus. It was 3 different departments there.
Sheriffs.
The sheriffs. They were all there. It was 9 police cars there.
The K-9 unit.
We were just coming from
And
a
the
party.
K-9 unit?
And the K-9
And
unit.
dogs.
When we stopped, we rolled the window down and we heard dogs
Yeah, we
barking.
heard dogs.
Okay, so you guys get out.
And I got out first. I was the first girl to get out. And I see all of these floodlights pointed at us. And then I see all these officers with guns pointed directly at me. And I'm like, I just froze. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I just was like, please don't sneeze, don't
And
cough.
gun
Don't do anything.
At gunpoint.
Just at
guns
gunpoint.
pointed at you too, Marcy?
Yep. They
All
had
of
4
us.
officers with guns pointed directly at us.
They made us get out the car one by one and he said, walk towards me. So I did. And, you know, the first thing I asked him was, you know, officer, what did I do? What did we do?
None of them knew
They
what we
said
did.
they don't know.
They
They didn't say anything. They just put cuffs
They
on
don't
us.
know if
and
we were
sitting
going to
there.
jail.
Put cuffs on
nothing.
the
Yes.
handcuffs on you?
And they
Yeah.
searched us.
They searched me twice.
But I wasn't searched. You know, that's
And they searched you twice?
Yes. And
inconsistent.
they didn't search her at all. They
Nope.
And
searched
they
her
searched me once.
A white student called in to our campus police, and
Well,
they
actually
said
the
they were
Macomb police.
the Macomb police, the city police, and they put in a call, you know, to the area law enforcement, and they said, you know, he was threatened with a gun by 5 black males.
Now, how did you find that out?
We actually saw the audio and the video of the incident, and we heard the call. We heard the actual call.
They never really told us that.
But the officers never told you that?
No.
No, they
You
said
just-
they didn't
you just
know
heard
what it was.
They just said they didn't know.
Well, if they're looking for a car full of black men, why'd they stop you?
Because they were
Can you
bored.
ask them that? 'Cause
They
they
were
saw
bored.
us. They were bored. I mean,
They didn't have anything to do. I mean, it's Macomb. What do
that's
they do?
why I
They
feel
put
this
out the
racial
college
profiling.
students.
You guys filed a complaint?
Yes,
Absolutely.
And what happened?
That was crazy. They didn't want us
The
to file
complaint
it.
process at our school hadn't been updated since 1981. So for us to go and say, okay, this happened to us last night and we want to file a complaint about it, we actually had to tell a strange
Why?
officer like what was going on that night, what happened,
And
so that they can have like something
Nobody
to say.
apologized to you. Nobody
No,
said
not
we were
even
looking
at
for,
this point,
for
no.
5 suspects. You don't
They
match the
said that at the
description. We blew it.
end.
We're sorry. Nobody said that.
They
No.
said they did their job and we were lucky to get off.
Yeah, they said usually they.
But Larry, that's why you file a complaint. If the cops are wrong and you're
So we
in the
did
right,
that.
you
Okay.
file a complaint and let the law take effect.
No,
These will
no.
work out on your behalf.
No, it
But
will
if
not
you-
work on our behalf.
It will work on your
Because if we
behalf.
hadn't-
If you were in the
I
right
agree
and
with
go through
Jesse.
the
It will
proper
work on your behalf
procedures.
sooner or later.
That's
Sooner
right.
or later. If those cops are routinely pulling people over for no reason other than that they're black or they think that they're black,
Right.
and
Right.
enough people file complaints, sooner or later, it's going to establish a pattern. What happens often, though, with a black person is they get pulled over and they complain, but they don't file a complaint. And I'm not saying they act on every single complaint, but you let enough officers get enough complaints, sooner or later it's going to affect their career. It's going to affect their promotion. It's going to affect their pay. And I would urge every black person who feels that he or she was pulled over wrongfully, look at that badge number and file a complaint.
Well, that was the problem. It was too many floodlights. You couldn't see. You couldn't see.
And they won't tell us who the officers
They
were.
won't tell us who the officers were.
you know,
Everything
one
happened
of-
Guns
fast.
pointed at us.
One of the things that we
There
have
were
to
guns
change,
pointed.
we work in my organization, Bond, we work with a lot of young black men who are angry, come from gang violence
Well,
and
we're
things
not-
like that.
we're not-
And so
that's not-
what we have told them is they have to adjust their attitude. You know, whenever there's a white cop and a black person involved in this and that, it's not always racial.
No, I agree with you
But
on
they
that,
are-
Jesse, but that's not what we have here.
And all the
We have young
college
college students, no attitude. They got pulled over. Clearly, they got pulled over when the cops were looking for
we don't know
black
what their
males.
attitudes
According
were.
to them, black males, and they're not black males, obviously.
How was
But
her attitude
we don't know what their
uncooperative when
attitudes
she was
were in
sitting there
this
crying?
situation.
understand.
You know, we just have one side of the story right now. We don't really know how they reacted to the
Well, if
officer.
you were there, then you can say this is the aftermath
As you
of it,
listen to
okay?
them speak, the fact that they're in a majority white university, they already have this mentality that the world is against them.
No, we
And so
don't.
if
We
they're
don't.
in this-
Why would we
in
go
this
to that
reality,
environment if we
and
don't want
stopped
that
by a
person
white
back?
cop, they're going to automatically judge the cops as coming
We
after
did
them
not judge them.
because
We thought
they're
they were
black.
doing their
and it sounds
job.
like they're doing
We
that
thought
here.
they were doing their job, but when they
You
started
just don't
joking
know what
around
you're
and
talking
playing, how did you expect us to react?
All right.
Smiling?
Okay,
No.
Marcy, Monique, Vanessa, here's my question for you. Do you believe that this was an aberration, or do you believe that most cops racially profile black people?
Where in our town, where we're from, we
Yes.
believe they racially profile black
Yes, they
people.
do.
Yes, we do.
Because we had a town hall meeting, and too many people hands went up that this has happened to them.
Because there was a survey, they asked like how many people has this happened to, and so many people in the audience raised their hand. Out of 150, 40 or 50 people raised their hand and
Exactly.
said, yes, this has happened to me. But
it's
for
that
some
kind
reason
of
they don't
thinking
follow.
that-
No, but
that
if
is
you
bringing
trying
on
to
the
stop.
problems in the black
Even
community.
if you would've-
automatically think that you're racially profiled simply because you're black, you're going to give an attitude. You're going to give attitude to the
that
cops.
wasn't the
It
case.
is
never
that
thought
kind of
that. We never
brainwashing that
thought
we
that.
have to
They made
change
mistakes.
within the
brain.
black
They made
community.
mistakes, is what you need to understand. So
Again, I repeat, if you feel that you're a victim,
File a
a complaint.
Of course,
But I
and that's
also,
what we
also
did.
agree with Jesse. Most officers are simply trying to do their jobs, and they have dangerous jobs, and we ought to appreciate and respect what they're doing
That's
for
right.
us out there every day.
I agree.
And,
I would have-
and make sure that we weed out the bad ones.
I agree.
Right.
When we come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk to two women who say that they are discriminated against because of their black-sounding names. Don't go away. We'll be right back. So, what would you do if you didn't get the job that you wanted because of your black-sounding name? A recent study shows that workplace discrimination begins well before the job seeker even shows up for an interview. This is Tikwa Gator. Now, after sending out close to 100 resumes and receiving only 2 callbacks, Tikwa began to wonder, hey, is it because of my name? Why do you feel it was because of your name?
Well, I graduated from Alabama A&M University with honors. Started sending out resumes, hundreds, probably even over 100. No callbacks, you know. I got about 2 or 3, but that was very discouraging. So I was like, you know, what's wrong with this? You know, what am I not doing right? Or am I not qualified for the jobs? Or I'm setting my expectations too high? What's going on? You know, so basically I just got to thinking. I was about a conversation that me and my girlfriends had about names and how we could tell if names were black sounding. So I said, well, I'm going to try this. I'm going to start putting T Gator on my resume instead of T.
T-period Gator.
T-period Gator. All of a sudden, out of 10 resumes being sent out, I get about 2 or 3 resumes or callbacks, you know, interested in meeting me. So I'm like, okay, what's really going on? So I kind of figured that, you know, it must be something about my name.
Do you feel that way, Jesse?
I think
That she was not getting callbacks because of her name?
I mean, that could be possible. I think parents do a disservice to their children by giving them these so-called black names. We are in America, and you know, I have employees working for me, and when I run across a name like Shanae or whatever they call them, I tend to put those to the side because I know that I'm gonna have attitude in my business. Because
wait. Everybody who's got a so-called black-sounding name, in your opinion, Jesse, has an attitude?
Not everybody, but the fact that...
Well, then why would you put them to the side?
Because the fact that they come up with these so-called black names implies that they're trying to separate themselves from America.
What Tikwa didn't name herself. Tikwa didn't name herself.
I know, that's why I said her mother was not thinking.
No,
it's a selfish act to give your child that type of a name because it's going to hurt them in the long run.
But if it's a selfish act to give your child that kind of name, That's not the same thing as saying you've given your child that kind of name and therefore that child will have an attitude.
This is America. We don't need a black name. And these people are trying to separate. They are angry at white Americans, Larry,
So,
and they want to separate
if you got a resume,
from
Jesse,
America.
you hire people
Yes,
in your organization.
I do.
You got a resume and it said Tikwa Jones or Mary Jones. You wouldn't call Tikwa Jones back because her name is Tikwa?
Most likely no.
Jesse, it's hard enough to find somebody who's good, who's hardworking, who's motivated. To discriminate against somebody just based on their name, not looking at the resume, the rest of the resume, the rest of the credentials, is just bad management to me.
Well, see, what you have to realize, Larry, is that people are in business. People are in business to make money and to provide a good service.
Which is why you
so
need
they're
good
going to
people.
always try to make the best choice that they can make. I am black, and I know how black people think. And when they come up with these African names.
Jesse, I think you should quit while you're ahead. We're going to take a break. We come back, we're going to meet a woman who says you shouldn't have to change your name to get a job. Don't go away. We're back discussing controversial forms of racial profiling. This is Shalonda. Shalonda, Tikwa changed her name in order to get a job. Would you ever do that?
No.
In order to get a job?
No, I wouldn't change my name if you paid me $1 million. I would not change my name. My mother took the time out to name my sisters and I those beautiful names, and all I get is stop and stares. And that's all I need.
And Shalonda, do you feel that your name has hurt you in the job market?
No.
Opposite experience than yours.
Right. I mean, I love my name, don't get me wrong, but as far as applying for jobs, when I was using my first name, Tikwa Gator, I didn't get that many callbacks.
But you haven't had that problem.
No, I haven't.
And why do you suppose she did?
And if I did have the problem, I never knew about it. I think maybe the problem is ignorance. That's all it could be, is ignorance. Why would somebody define what you can do by your name?
And your name is and it's interesting, you have an unusual name too.
Yes, I do.
But you haven't had the same experience.
I can't say that I have. I haven't had that
Now,
experience. and I'm sorry.
Jesse, would you hire somebody named Shalonda?
You know, I made it clear earlier, I would not hire a person with a so-called black name, because I know that it's going to be a great situation. What black Americans need to realize that.
Black name. Well, how can you label?
I mean, that's what they call them, black names. That's why they come up with those names.
Black name. When you say black name to me, I'm thinking of the color black.
Right.
How can you define who this person is and what she can do by a black name?
Well, you know,
her black name does not measure her responsibility. Her black name.
Well, what you need to realize is that a lot of black parents are naming their children with black names. They say, "I'm giving my child a black name. I don't want them to have a white name." And to me, that's a mistake, because we are in America, and black Americans need to get away from this black thing and become Americans and start living that way. And so why give your child a name?
Okay, Jesse, now that you've met Tikwa and Shalonda, now that you've met them,
right?
Now that you've met them, and they sent you a resume with their name on the resume, now that you've met them, what would your reaction be?
I mean, they seem like nice people, you know, and so that's. So
would you hire them
if they're qualified for what I'm looking for? Yes, I would hire them.
Therefore, to have ignored their resumes the first time would have meant that you would have ignored two good people,
right?
By your own admission.
But that's not my fault. It's their fault for having a black name.
It's not our fault, because I didn't name myself.
Well, your mother's fault.
So that's
your parents' fault.
And I'm not black sounding.
Oh my goodness.
It is your parents' fault for naming you that, because I would never. You know, I have 4 daughters.
My
right?
mother's
I would not give my daughters black
name
names.
is Jessica.
I know the audience wants to weigh in on this conversation. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back and find out what they think. Don't go away. And we're back discussing controversial forms of racial profiling.
Hi, how are you? I moved out here from Boston with my son, and he's the minority in his school now, and he gets to realize the prejudice and experience
He's a
that.
predominantly, what, black school or Latino school?
Latino, Hispanic, and black, and he's like the only white kid in his classroom. And he comes out and he dresses, and he has the earring and the baggy clothes, and, you know, I'm not so worried about, you know, racial profiling and a policeman pulling him over, but the way he dresses, I mean, it could be misunderstood for like a gang look, and he could be killed for that look, and, you know, that's a fear that, you know, these kids all have to worry about as well.
And your point is what? That when you dress like that, people are going to draw conclusions?
Absolutely. And the first impression could be your last impression, and you could be killed for it.
That doesn't make it right.
It's what it is.
That doesn't make it right, though.
Antonio, go ahead.
We still need to, you still forget that, yes, we all know what is right, we all know what's wrong. But one system only works when another system is there to keep it in check. I know what's here to keep me in check, going back to prison, okay? I couldn't even get in college.
But Antonio, the point is, she feels her child is being profiled based on the way he dressed, and he's not black. Okay?
It's society.
Sandra, go ahead.
It's society. When you dress like that, it's the gangster look, the jailhouse look, the thug life, the whoever, the whatever, it's all bad. So to dress like that, they're going to be judged by the book. The book going to be judged by the cover. That's it. They're going to be judged. It's not right, but that's how it is.
All right.
We understand that.
That's how it is.
We understand. So what are we going to do to stop that now? What are we going to do to stop that? Now, what system?
All right, Antonio.
That's
pulled up.
Excuse me.
All right, hold on.
Hi, yeah, I would just like to, I want to know what you would do differently, because I feel like racial profiling, as much as it's like inconveniencing a lot of people who aren't guilty, it really does like make a difference in solving a lot of problems. You know, you develop a line of suspects, and the only way to do that is based on how people look. There's no other way. We don't DNA test or fingerprint.
The way you dressed from somebody else's assumption of you? Why do I have to change how I live? Why do her son have to change the way he looked because somebody said it was a quote-unquote gang thug look? Why do he have to change his own personal style? Why? Because someone else chooses to assume that he's a thug
but
or a
the
gang
reality
member.
is, it is a gang thuggish look.
Just because the hip hop world or
that's the reality of it,
the black or certain blacks decide to wear their clothes a little
Hi, Jesse.
loose.
I'm Kim. I'm really upset about a lot of things you're saying. To me, my opinion, you're being racist, profiling yourself. Absolutely. How dare you say some of the things that you're saying?
You are racial profiling.
Okay.
Go ahead and
when
respond,
I say
Jesse.
that, it is my responsibility as a parent to make sure that my children get the best opportunities that they can get by making them dress properly, work hard, and do what's right. How is that racial profiling? And when I say that, when the officers stop you, don't give them an attitude, because if you're not guilty of anything, there's no reason to have an attitude. How is that racial? How am I wrong about that?
How is having two earrings in your ear and cornrows projecting an attitude?
It is.
How is that projecting an attitude?
It's a gang look.
I mean, what is it? What's a gang look? I mean, we all know. Okay, we all know. Let's be real about it. There are certain situations when certain attire should be worn.
All right, LaWanda, you make the final comment. Go ahead.
But if I'm driving in my car down the street,
hold on, Antonio. LaWanda, make the final comment.
The attitude comes in when it's not being stopped. It's how we're treated once we're stopped. We're treated like we don't have.
Okay. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We're back, and we have time for just one last word. Using race as one of many variables is, frankly, a standard and established police practice. But stopping someone solely because of their race, I repeat, solely because of their race, is illegal. And it does happen, and it's wrong. But the overwhelming majority of cops who are out there serving their community are good people who are putting their lives on the line for us. There are some bad apples, and the cops I know hate these bad apples because they make the rest of them look bad. As far as black-sounding names go, Jesse Peterson's got a point when he says that there are some people who will draw negative inferences from those names. It's just a fact of life. But I've run a business, and if you're watching this and you have a business, then you've got to know how hard it is to get good, hard-working, competent employees. And to exclude a qualified applicant just because of his or her name is just not smart business. Thank you for watching. This is the Larry Elder Show, and we'll see you next time. We're back, and today we're letting our viewers weigh in with their reactions to the comments and opinions of some of our past guests. One past guest created a storm of controversy when he said he wouldn't hire a person with a black-sounding name. Watch this.
I think parents do a disservice to their children by giving them these so-called black names. We are in America, and you know, I have employees working for me, and when I run across a name like Shanae or whatever they call them, I tend to put those to the side because I know that I'm going to have attitude in my business.
You hire people in your organization.
I do.
You got a resume and it said Tikwa Jones or Mary Jones. You wouldn't call Tikwa Jones back because her name is Tikwa?
Most likely no.
Please welcome back Jesse Lee Peterson and two of the thousands of viewers, I mean thousands, who responded to Jesse's interview. They are Mystique and Maurice. All right, Jesse, why do you suppose so many people were ticked off?
Most people hate the truth. You know, in America today, if you tell the truth...
He's starting already, isn't he?
In America today, if you tell the truth, you know, you're hated for it. But we must tell the truth in order to keep America going.
All right,
we cannot tell the truth.
Okay, and in your opinion, Jesse, the truth is that people with black-sounding names are angry?
Absolutely. That's why they create a so-called black-sounding name, because they want to separate themselves from white Americans and from America.
Okay, so
all right, this young lady's name is Mystique. Is that a black-sounding name?
It sounds more like a striptease name or something like that.
okay.
Wait, one second. If you got her resume, would you toss it aside?
I would.
Okay, I do get the question a lot when people haven't met me. Am I a black woman? And I'm not.
You're on the phone talking to somebody?
Yes. Or I've turned in a resume, or through family and friends, people that have never met me ask, well, is she a black woman?
Well, it doesn't necessarily sound like
My
a black
whole point
name.
is, I'm not done. My whole point is that by you making that kind of statement is the most ridiculous thing in the world, because you should not judge somebody just by their name. I am a white woman, brown hair, blue-eyed, and if you can sit there and say that you would pass my resume up,
yes.
It's ridiculous.
What you have to realize is that I'm in business to make money.
And I
to
understand
earn a
that.
living.
I'm a very
and it's not my
well-working...
responsibility to develop your character.
I already have my character.
You're responsible. As an adult, you're responsible for yourself.
Exactly.
And so you should prepare yourself so that you can be hired in the job.
But you think you're going to put my resume aside just because of my name.
No.
And then your comment about saying that I might be a stripper.
But don't I have a right to protect my business?
No, you don't, because you're being ignorant. You have a right to protect your business,
Maurice?
not by somebody's name.
Maurice, go ahead.
How are you protecting your business by not hiring black people?
It's not the black person, it's the black name.
It's the black name. You have to assume that a black name goes with the black person.
Well, you know, I know in advance that if you sit back and create a so-called black name, then you have a lot of anger. And in my business, you're rebelling against America, against white America. And in my business,
Jesse, the person didn't name herself.
Right.
Mom or dad gave the name.
Yeah.
So if anybody's angry, it's mom or dad, not the kid.
Well, the kids become like the parents. And as I said before, it's very selfish of parents to give their children that type of name, because they have a responsibility to make sure that their children are able to succeed in life as much as possible.
So
but once we become an adult, once we become an adult, we have a responsibility, so we can change that name.
Maurice, isn't at least this part true? You have a name that's unusual.
Yes.
You send that resume to somebody. Somebody else gets another resume with a standard name. The person with the unusual name is probably going to have a more difficult time getting a call back. Isn't that just reality?
It's probably reality, but it is reality because of thinking like this.
Right.
That's what it boils down to.
You're right. But you're right about that.
Let me finish. Go ahead, Maurice.
You are, I assume, over 50.
I'm 55.
40 years ago was 1964.
Yes.
As a 55-year-old black man, how can you come on national television? You, of anybody in America, a 55-year-old black man must know better.
I do.
You've gone through things in your life that I haven't.
Right.
And I hopefully, pray to God, I never will. How can you justify coming on national TV and saying that I would not hire someone with a black name, even though in my life I have been judged the same way?
How? You're right.
How?
You're right. Let me explain.
Let him respond, Maurice.
You're right. I grew up on a plantation in Alabama. I remember the sign that says for whites only, for colors only. So I know discrimination when I see it. But that was then.
Do you see it when you look
that
in the
was
mirror?
then. This is now. Slavery is over. White folks are not waking up every morning at the breakfast table trying to figure out how to hold you down. They have their own issues to deal with.
You're doing it for them.
When I start a business,
You're the one doing it.
No, when I start a business, it is my responsibility to provide a good environment as much as possible. And it's hard enough dealing with people as it is. So why bring in someone that I already know is angry at society?
How do you know that this person is angry
Because
if you've never seen them?
you create the so-called black name. That's ridiculous within itself. I have to look at the most qualified person I think is going to work for my business.
How can you tell that if you're not even going to look at my resume because of my name?
We're going to take a break, and we're going to go into the audience and get some questions and answers from the audience. But I want to say this to Mystique and to Maurice and to the listeners and viewers. I don't agree with Jesse Lee's position on names. I made that clear last time. I'm making it clear again. I think, Jesse, what you are doing is making a very foolish generalization and losing out.
It's not. It's a wise. No, it's a wise generalization. It's a wise decision.
And you're losing out on the possibility of getting very good workers. That said, Maurice, I went to visit Jesse Lee, lives in the inner city, and he has a nonprofit organization. It's a self-help organization to get people cleaned up off the streets and to lead a better life. I went into his house. There's a guy sitting over there. I said, who's that guy? And Jesse said he was a homeless guy, got him off the street. Black guy. Another guy in another room. Who's that guy? Homeless guy, got him off the street. He had 4 or 5 people that he'd gotten off the street living in his house to try to turn their lives around. So he's not an enemy. He's a good man.
It
He's not an
depends
enemy.
on how you look at it.
Yeah, he's wrong about this issue, but I just want you to know something about his character, that's all. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We're back, and today our viewers are confronting some of our most controversial past guests. Maurice and Mystique were just 2 of our viewers who responded to Jesse's statements. They called us, and they're here today to confront him.
Yes, I was wondering if a person had a Hispanic-sounding name, would you still have the same bias towards them?
No, I wouldn't.
So it's just African Americans that you have a bias towards?
What you don't realize, there's no such thing as a black name. So you have to, something have to be wrong with you to create that kind of environment for yourself. And so if I already know that that's trouble, why would I want to bring that to my business? A Hispanic person gonna have a Hispanic name. A black American should have an American name, not a black name.
You know what the word traitor means?
Traitor?
Traitor.
I do, yes.
When you look in the mirror in the morning, do you realize that you are one?
No, I'm not. How am I a traitor?
You are taking a general stereotype of what you see in the mirror. There's something in your past that has made you hate or dislike yourself. And you bring that to the table every time.
What kind of person would create a black name? Does that make sense to you?
You just said there's no such thing as a black name.
I know, but doesn't that tell you
Jesse, excuse me, Jesse, when you hire people, have you had an experience where you brought in somebody with a quote black sounding name and that person was angry and it happened over and over and over again, so now you have reached the conclusion that black sounding names are names that people have who are angry?
I haven't had it in my business, but I know friends of mine who have. I am wise enough not to bring that kind of trouble into my business. I know how black folks think.
All right. So Jesse, everybody with the quote black sounding name, hold on. Everybody with the black sounding name should go down to the Hall of Registry right now and change their name.
What I'm saying is that if they have a black sounding name, they need to realize that that is holding them back in life. And if you want to succeed,
People like you.
whether you like it or
Only
not,
because of
whether
people
you like it or not, it's happening.
No common sense and are complete
Hold on.
ignorant people.
Hold on,
But how are
Mystique.
you gonna tell a
Jesse,
business
Mystique, hold
person-
on, please.
I think there's an old adage. There's certainly a lot of discussion and people have their viewpoints, but don't judge a book by its cover. It's one of the most oldest and simplest pieces of wisdom. And what Larry and a lot of the other people are saying about stereotyping and generalization is embodied in that very
what you
simple
need to realize,
proverb.
if I start my own business, I have the right to do what I want in my business. And if you want a job from me, you need to prepare yourself for that. It is not my responsibility to hire you because you named yourself with a black name. You're holding yourself back. That is, I'm not your mama, I'm not your daddy. It is your responsibility to do that.
All right, Jesse, is Condoleezza a black-sounding name?
Not to me, it's not. Condoleezza Rice's parents did not decide, well, I hate white Americans, so I'm going to create a black name.
How do you know
There's
that?
a difference in that.
How do you know that?
I mean, look at the woman. She's
How
not...
do you know Tamika or Takesha's mother didn't feel the same way? How do you know?
Do you know any American name with Tanisha?
What is an American name?
All right, hold on.
Okay, my question is to you. If you hired me and my name was like Mary or Sherry, and I still came and messed up your business, wouldn't you feel a little crunchy then? Wouldn't you feel kind of stupid?
No.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Like I said, it's hard enough dealing with people anyway. So, but if I had a person by the name of Mary and she was trouble, I'd get rid of her.
Jesse,
I would do that.
You can't hide. You can't hide from being black, no matter how tired you try.
Why am I trying to hide from being black?
Because you're not.
I want you to be your best. What's wrong with that?
And how can I be my best if you're chopping?
By preparing yourself.
How can I prepare myself for a name I never gave myself?
But you're an adult. You can change your first name. You have a right to change the first name.
Why
so
would I?
that it doesn't hold you back in life.
It's disrespectful.
What's disrespectful?
Your parents named you a name because that's what they wanted for you.
But had your parents loved you, they wouldn't have given you a black name.
So Jesse, every Maurice, you okay? Maurice, you okay? Maurice, you all right, man? So, Maurice, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, Maurice. We're gonna take a break. Don't go away. After a public school teacher, Brandy Stokes, appeared on the show, we did call Is This Discrimination or Not? We received almost 2,000 emails. Little lesson for you. Brandy is back with us today, and she'll meet viewers who both support her and oppose her. That's next. Don't go away.
And we're back. I hope you enjoyed that nice throwback. Jesse Lee Peterson on the Larry Elder TV show. Did you know that Larry Elder hosted a TV show? So awesome. And Jesse made him cry at the end. So funny. But, I mean, you could tell that he was soft and about to break. He's fat. But Jesse told him the truth. Jesse Lee Peterson. I am James Hake, filling in for the Jesse Lee Peterson show. I host the Hake Report, and I will be hosting after the show. We'll see what I have for you. But in the coming hour, we're coming down to the end of this hour. I am accepting calls now. You can call in 888-775-3773, which is 888-77-JESSE. And we'll be talking about the white supremacy thing. Oh, are we starting the next hour? Is that why I cut off?
No, it's not off.
Okay, cool. We'll be talking about white supremacy because they're scaremongering about white supremacy, pretending it's so important that President Trump condemn it. President Trump actually broke. Well, he didn't break, but he listened apparently to his advisors and condemned the Proud Boys. You shouldn't have condemned the Proud Boys. They're decent. But he did it. I want to know what you guys think about it. And I'll give my opinion as well. And I'll give my take on the reaction to that too. And by the way, the Proud Boys, well, not all of them, right? But over in like Utah, they did a little thing with Black Lives Matter. They did like a joint press conference kissing up to Black Lives Matter people. And I don't think that Black Lives Matter was exactly kissing up to them. Yeah. Hello. Oh, okay, it's fixed. So we're coming to the end of the hour. I will be getting to all of your calls. The FBI, shout out to Big Bump for the tip, but the FBI released their crime data, crime stats, national crime stats for 2019. I'll touch on that. Blacks are basically consistent with what they've been over the past, couple of decades? So it's pretty crazy. And I have more and more and more. The National Council of Churches is condemning white supremacy and President Trump. It's ridiculous. John Roberts of Fox News acted really strangely. And it turns out that big tech, the people who like to censor you on social media, they can do a whole mass censorship of a whole political movement, according to Revolver News. So I'm going to be touching on all of that. And former Jesse Lee Peterson guest, Scott Adams, did he say that he's not going to vote for Trump? I don't know. We're going to cover it. We're coming to the end of the hour. So in this next hour, I will be taking your calls. So are we able to play this intro thing? All right, let's get started with hour 2 with the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, hosted by Hake.
To stand up strong, face the truth about themselves, to understand what went wrong. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way to stand up, stand up.
Welcome to hour 2 of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. I am James Hake, filling in for Jesse Lee Peterson. Jesse Lee Peterson is out speaking at the 21 conference, or the 21st conference, if he was pronouncing it right. But I think it's the 21 conference for men and women. He will be speaking there, I believe, today and tomorrow. And he will be back for Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. Church with Jesse Lee Peterson is every Sunday, 11 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time, live from Bond in Los Angeles. If you're going to join us in person, come at 10:30 a.m. That's when doors open. You can get a little coffee usually, and it's nice. I will be taking your calls, 888-77-JESSE, 888-775-3773. Am I hosting The Fallen State too today? I'm kidding. But The Fallen State is today at noon Pacific time. Who is Jesse Lee Peterson interviewing on The Fallen State? Is it that? I'm blanking on it. Do we have the let's go ahead and play that. Nice. Oh, it's Big Hurt. I met him. I took a picture with him. I didn't recognize him, though. Jesse Lee Peterson interviewed a well-known, an ex-convict? Named Big Hurt. Think I could take him? Check this out and let me know what you think.
Next time on The Fallen State.
What was life like in prison?
I was always thinking about getting out.
Right on.
I never thought about, oh man, I'm gonna go hang out with these dudes and spread. I'm gonna go over here and play dominoes.
So you were in there 8 years?
8 years, 8 months. People on the street are institutionalized. They buy into the program that's fed to them and they can't think outside of that. If you wanna change a country, you pump money into where they have these learning centers, trade schools. When they got rid of all the trade stuff in all the schools,
That was a big
big thing.
mistake. Yeah.
Welding, auto mechanics.
I agree with that.
Dude, you don't want to make people harder. Why not make them culturally happy? Have a happy society.
Let me ask you about Black Lives Matter and Antifa. What do you think about them?
Garbage.
All this, yeah.
You know, trying to disrupt our communities. It's a false flag. Do I love Trump? I'm a fan.
Very nice. I'm looking forward to catching that interview. Seems like a sensible man. I wonder what he did to be in prison. But he got out. Must have not been that bad. Well, you never know nowadays, right? What state is he from? Is he from California? I don't know. President Trump has let out some supposed nonviolent criminals. And and that was while working with a black senator named Tim Scott. And Tim Scott is a total RINO. And Tim Scott was one of the people who was pushing President Trump to condemn Proud Boys. And if you don't know who Proud Boys are, they are well, most memorably, a former Jesse Lee Peterson guest, Vincent James, described them as a drinking fraternity. A drinking fraternity, because generally what the Proud Boys do is they meet up at a bar and just have fun and talk to each other. But it was started by a comedian / talk host, centrist guy, sort of conservative, sort of libertarian, named Gavin McInnes from Canada. And he had a producer or assistant who did not want to quit looking at pornography. Young man. And just pretty degenerate. And this Gavin McInnes said, you know what? We need to start a movement to have guys quit looking at all this pornography and get out and meet women, become men. And one of their values is to so-called venerate the housewife. Venerate the housewife. Isn't that a nice thing? And their other thing is being proud or not apologizing for Western civilization, which means that you have the freedom of speech, the right to carry guns, and generally, like, people are civilized. And Western means like America, Europe, Canada, stuff like that. That's typically what you mean by Western civilization. And then maybe parts of Central and South America, the more civilized parts, right? I guess they'll count. But that's Western civilization, and we're constantly told that that's a dog whistle for racism, and that's what got the former Representative Steve King of Iowa in trouble for saying Western civilization. How'd that get linked up with so-called white supremacy and all that stuff? And some say, well, it was mostly white people who built Western civilization. Okay, fine. But that's not this so-called white supremacy thing, or is it? I don't know. If that's what it is, then, hey, what's the problem with it? There is no problem with it. And so they're falsely smeared. They support President Trump generally. Some of them don't. Some of them are liberals, some of these Proud Boy guys. It's generally got guys my age, plus or minus 15 or 20 years. If, maybe some younger teenagers too. And maybe a boomer or two, but mostly they are Generation X, Generation Y, which is millennials, and Generation Z and whoever's younger than that. And they're just a bunch of people who are just pretty much decent. And they're younger men, able-bodied men, so they show up at these free speech rallies and things and stand in the way between Antifa and free speech people or conservative speakers. They showed up to defend, Ann Coulter. But Ann Coulter didn't show up because there was a crazy situation where Antifa wanted to riot over Ann Coulter speaking in Berkeley or something like that. And same thing with Milo, I think. And with Lauren Southern. These are just big name, semi-conservative, criticize Muslims sometimes with regard to Islamic terror and this fear-mongering about Islamophobia. They're concerned more about blaming America for Islamophobia and just trying to force this dumb diversity stuff on America. But it's funny because the Proud Boys themselves, because it's a bunch of young people, and we've had this diversity forced on us, there's a lot of diverse, decent-minded people who are in the Proud Boys. It's not even mostly white. And if it were, they would still have the right to be that way. This is America. But there is this dumb pressure from RINOs like Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham to condemn them. So I'm going to play a clip of President Trump condemning them later. By the way, President Trump and his wife Melania tested positive for COVID-19. That's the Chinese/commie virus. I wonder if they will suffer any symptoms. I have one friend who caught it. I wasn't one to hang out with this friend, but he told me about it, and it hit him pretty hard. He's in his early to mid 20s. I don't know exactly his age, but he caught it, and he worked at a place where they said, you know what, stay home for 2 weeks. In fact, I think that's what they generally do. If you catch this thing, you got to quarantine for 14 days. He suffered for 2 days, I would say, it sounded like, and it hit him pretty hard. Everything that you can get with a flu, he got, like crazy body aches, loss of taste, sense of taste and smell, and hit all the old injuries. Felt like they were coming back, and he had a fever, and then he was whatever, and upset stomach. Not throwing up, but the other thing. TMI, I don't know. But it hit him pretty hard, but then he was fine. And then he was just chilling for a week and a half. Better safe than sorry, right? Don't want to spread your germs to old people. Or to anybody else. That's common decency. When you're sick, stay home, keep your distance from people, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze or yawn. Stuff like that. It's crazy. I'm going to be getting to your calls, but President Trump tweeted tonight. He tweeted last night. Tonight, FLOTUS, meaning the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together. Wayne Ronda says, Fireball whiskey kills it. Interesting theory. I don't know. It doesn't have sugar in it. Let me get to Earl in Michigan. He wants to comment on the presidential debate, which was, it was pretty good. President Trump had to fight back against the lies of phony Joe Biden and, honestly, kind of phony Chris Wallace. He's a liberal. Chris Wallace of Fox News. Nice guy, but weak. He did not have the strength to keep it an orderly discussion. And in fact, he jumped in and interrupted President Trump way too much. But he was overly nice to Joe Biden and didn't check Joe Biden on his lies and weak answers and stuff. Anyway, here's Earl from Michigan. Earl, how are you doing?
Hola, buenos dias, Sir James Hake.
Welcome to the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. I'm doing fine. How are you?
Fine. I want to comment on what your caller from Hart from Ohio made a comment about the deference that's supposed to be given to the president.
Okay, let me recount what Art from Ohio said on the Hake report yesterday. Art from Ohio is a regular caller on the Jesse Lee Peterson Show and the Hake report. And Art said that Joe Biden, who's not vice president anymore, and Chris Wallace, the liberal reporter for Fox News, should have given Trump the deference to say what he wanted to say. And I somewhat agree with that, but honestly, it's actually common decency and in the interest of the American people to let the president make his counterpoint to Joe Biden's lies. But yeah, he said that they should show more respect for the president, and that is a fair point. What do you say to that? Hello? Earl fell asleep. Earl, are you there? Huh. Interesting. We'll check on him. Jeb HR says Chris Wallace stunk. He said a different word. And was protecting and making it easy for Biden. Yeah, you know, the liberal media is able to create this false reality, this false illusion. Yeah, Earl just fell off. What the heck? Maybe he has an Obama phone still. They're able to make this false reality where they think that white supremacy is like a real issue that people should comment on. Like, where is it? I haven't seen anything. They talk about Charlottesville, which was 3 years ago, August of 2017. Charlottesville, Virginia. What was called the alt-right had this rally called Unite the Right. And there were many people who called themselves white nationalists and many people who called themselves alt-right and many people who were just, according to a generally pretty honest man in terms of what he says is going on, Richard Spencer said that there were civic nationalists there, people who don't necessarily just want a white only or white majority country. They just want the country people to love America. They showed up at Lee Park over in Charlottesville, Virginia, and they were protesting the tearing down of Robert E. Lee's statue. They were planning on tearing down the Robert E. Lee statue to kiss up to black people because Robert E. Lee was a great Confederate general who owned slaves, eventually freed them, I think. He called it an evil, a political and moral evil. But he owned slaves and he kept them working to save his plantation or his father-in-law's plantation. After his father-in-law passed on, it was a mess and he had to fix stuff. And so Robert E. Lee is smeared because he was a Confederate general, and the Confederates fought on the Civil War for slavery to stay in place on behalf of the South. The South wanted to secede from the Union. But President Abraham Lincoln said, no, we want the country to stay united. And so we're going to fight you and we're going to kill each other until somebody wins and one gets to secede or stay in the Union. The North won, and so the South was not allowed to secede from the Union. They were not allowed to make the Confederate States of America. But now, and so they wanted the country united. But now everybody wants to smear the South, and any semblance of any reminder of the South and the Confederacy and all of that. And the Confederates, they also wanted things like states' rights, which is a very valid point to this day, actually. And they want freedom and able to self-determine. They don't want to be forced to do stuff by the federal government. And what does the federal government do today? Are they pushing anything good? Whatever you think about getting rid of slavery, look at what they're pushing now. They're pushing stuff like homosexuality on all of the states. That's the federal government in the form of the Supreme Court, pushing same-sex marriage onto all of the states. It's not constitutional. It's ridiculous. And so the South has a whole lot of validity. A whole lot of validity. And the South are decent, Christian, both white and even the blacks in the South are more decent than the blacks in the cities in the North. They're less brainwashed, they're working, they're more country, more traditional. But even they are getting corrupt too, and the white Southerners are falling by the wayside too. Look at Texas, if you can even count that as the South. Texas is turning blue. RINOs. But maybe that'll turn around because I believe that they have Allen West as who's a tough conservative man. He happens to be black, but he's solid in terms of being conservative, seemingly. So these people were protesting. They had the right to protest. They went to a court to get the right to protest. The ACLU pretended to be on their side, but the ACLU turned on them and smeared them as racist. And so did the local people over in Charlottesville. It's crazy. And then so the Charlottesville Antifa, which is an outright anti-American group, and Black Lives Matter, also anti-American, anti-white, anti-black, honestly, group, attacked the people over in this Charlottesville, Virginia. But Charlottesville, they had guys, Joe Biden referenced it, their veins were bulging and carrying those tiki torches and saying anti-Semitic things like Jews will not replace us, right? Because a lot of people, a lot of young whites are getting upset at Jews because they think that Jews are disproportionately controlling the government and pushing this immigration stuff and degeneracy on America. And they have some valid points with that. They shouldn't be angry about it or feel like victims about it, but they have the right to say it. This is America. But no, they want to clamp down on that. Joe Biden based his whole campaign on Trump saying there were very fine people on both sides, which there were. But that was an example. Charlottesville was primarily an example of left-wing violence, with a couple of instances of what I guess you might call right-wing violence. A black guy got beat up in a parking garage. I don't know the whole story with that. I don't know if it was provoked or unprovoked. And a car drove into a crowd driven by a guy who's had issues. A single mother, angry person, angry young man. The Antifa people were hitting his car. So there's even more to the story with that case. But they're pretending that's a right-wing violence. That was white supremacy. Nope. It's not white supremacy. Those were whites trying to stand up for themselves in an imperfect way. And there's nothing to condemn with that. You can condemn the violence on many sides, President Trump has been quite fair with that. So Earl from Michigan is back, and he wants to comment on this debate thing, President Trump versus Joe Biden and Chris Wallace. Earl, what happened to your phone? You have an Obama phone?
I don't know. As soon as I started to speak, you claimed you couldn't hear me. But
I couldn't hear you. Nobody could hear you.
Oh, well, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
I could hear you, but evidently you couldn't hear me. But you explained what you think the debate should be. But that's not how debates are fought out.
Okay, Mom.
Or designed.
Okay, Mom.
No, just know exactly what you're talking about.
You don't know what you're talking about.
In debate, if you ever sit in debates before, they set up, it's not dependent on the title of the people that's debating. Certain people was, for instance, a governor who's challenging an incumbent or just an average citizen to a position. He don't get special rights or special consideration just because of his title and so forth. Each person is put on equal footing. They agreed to the rules of the debate committee, and therefore they are bound by that. So it's not the title. You don't get deference to somebody because of their title. That includes the president or whoever's debating. Everybody's on equal footing. Everybody agrees on the debate. Not one gets special rights and the other one don't. That would be unfair.
But Earl, Trump wasn't asking for special rights. He was asking for the ability to address the lies. They made statements about him, and he wasn't allowed to address them.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And honestly, Earl, you can take your rules and shove them.
Well,
shove them.
That's because you don't
because
agree
it's
with
so rich.
Order. Just because this man that you worship says he's a law and order, but when it comes to order, he wants to dismiss it when it comes to him.
It's so rich, Earl. Oh, his phone's messed up. No more Earl. Oh yeah, the first call I took was a banned caller. Oh, Joe Maddock, thank you, man. I totally forgot that Earl is banned from the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Well, that was an act of God, I guess, that his phone disconnected. I didn't do it, but yeah, I forgot all about that, man. because he's not banned on my show. But yeah, it's so phony. It's so rich when Democrats, of all people, complain about rules not being followed. They don't support the immigration rules being followed. They don't support the rule that the Supreme Court doesn't make laws. They don't support any rules. So phony. So ridiculous. Honestly, real life is better than the dumb rules made up by a female-run debate commission. I showed you on the Hake report, if you happened to watch the Hake report yesterday, the the debate commission is run by this hippie-looking, skinny, aging female. That's the Presidential Debate Commission. And the male on it, the top-ranking male on this debate commission, Commission on Presidential Debates, is an 81-year-old man who's supposedly a Republican. I don't know much about him. I don't know anything about him, except that he's 81 years old and was supposedly at one point a Republican. Ridiculous. You guys can call in 888-775-3773. President Trump addressed the lies, and if the moderator is not able to roll with it, then and he's a dumb stickler for dumb rules that prevent natural dialogue from happening. That's how natural debates happen. Then that's his fault. Chris Wallace, man, I watched an interview of him I almost said the Jesse Lee Peterson show, on the Fox News channel, and he was blaming Trump. He was acting like Trump was the one who was acting up badly. No, he was addressing lies on both sides. And yeah, he interrupted, but he was giving valuable information, valuable feedback. It was a conversation, and then Chris Wallace would disrupt that and complain about the rules not being followed. So phony. Okay, guys, I have some clips and pics to show for you. I don't have any footage of this Proud Boys press conference from, I guess in Utah somewhere. But Proud Boys held a joint press conference. I don't even have any pictures of this press conference, actually, with Black Lives Matter. It was this big guy, looked like he was a POC, maybe a black Hispanic, in, I guess, Utah. Proud Boys, a leader. And I don't think the rest of the Proud Boys were necessarily supportive of this. But he held a joint press conference with Black Lives Matter, and he said, Proud Boys, we condemn the KKK and Nazi stuff. And it's been well known, honestly, that the Proud Boys are against so-called Nazis. And they're okay with the gays because that's libertarian. Some of them are not, but they're like so-called pro-gay. I don't know if that means that they're pro-same-sex marriage, but that was according to Gavin McInnes, the founder. So he's somewhat, in my mind, a little bit of a kiss-up, if anything. These guys are too nice to the liberals. And here's another example of it. They held this press conference yesterday, apparently, saying, we weed out any of those people who are into that white extremist stuff. Because it is a growing trend of whites getting into whiteness because of the attack on whites. It is a crazy attack on whites. And I will be getting to your calls about this fear-mongering about so-called white supremacy. But that evil woman who should be in hiding or in jail and not out on Twitter? Kathy Griffin, I heard, from the Red Elephants reported, Vincent James reported, that Kathy Griffin was retweeting Antifa, which Antifa people are allowed to be on Twitter. They're extremist people, anti-American people, doxing so-called Proud Boys. Yeah, we'll do that. Doxing Proud Boys. I'm going to tell you about more nonsense, and then I'm going to play President Trump condemning the Proud Boys. He did it on Sean Hannity's show on Fox News. You can hear it Let me know what you think. I'll tell you what I think and more. This is the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. We'll be right back in a minute, and I will be getting to your calls. Appreciate it, guys. Hang tight.
So, here's what I recommend. I invite you to download my silent prayer, and I want you to start doing it. You just download it, get the points of how to do it, and then after a while, you just do it on your own. It's going to point you in the right direction that your life will be returned to you from God. He will give you your life back, because anyone and all people who has anger, they're not themselves. You are the person that you are angry at. That's why it's so important to get to know yourself so that you can see who you're angry at. And if you're doing the hooping and hollering prayers and things like that, some people get up, oh, praise the Lord, hoop and holler, bless my mama, bless my daddy. Continue to do it. Do both. You will see if you want to stay with the hooping and hollering, or do you want to be still and know God. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church.
What's up, everybody? We're back. We ran into a little bit of issues this morning, but fret not. We are back. We got some super chats. I will be reading your super chats. Appreciate them, guys. I'm a little bit behind. But let me get to Isaiah out of Los Angeles, who wants to comment on this whole white supremacy scaremongering thing. And then I'll play for you President Trump condemning the Proud Boys on Sean Hannity's TV show on Fox News. Isaiah, what's up?
Hey, good morning, James.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Appreciate it. Okay, so I'm hearing the term white supremacy everywhere, and I haven't seen any white supremacists burning down cities, murdering anybody in the streets, looting, yet it's always in the media saying, hey, white supremacists are the biggest threat to national security, and
yeah, it's ridiculous.
The people going and doing everything most of the time aren't white, and if they are, they're those anti-fascist people.
Right. And
go ahead.
And you know what? Like, most of the crime, too, is committed by non-whites, I dare say, or disproportionately, is not being committed by these so-called white nationalists. They're not even committing petty crimes that I know of.
Yep. And if you look at the crime statistics, they even lump in Hispanics with whites because of they want to have, like, the numbers more balanced out.
Yeah, exactly. It's silly. And it shows you that the people who are in charge of the government, you know, who are the unelected bureaucrats, the FBI, the DHS, who have some of the top guys there have been claiming that white supremacist, extremist violence or whatever is the most lethal threat in terms of domestic terrorism. Domestic terrorism is like a narrowly defined thing, but even that, I don't think even that is true. I was looking at a report from the Red Elephants, who keep very, very good statistics on this stuff, and per capita, blacks are way more likely to be black nationalists and way more likely to commit political violence. And then the Muslims, they're like, what, less than 3% of the population? Probably even less than that. And they're disproportionately committing the crazy terror attacks. And yeah, you have to watch out for angry whites now more than ever because of the family breakdown. And what do you expect when you endlessly attack and falsely smear whites? Some of them are going to react very badly. So they're only increasing the problem by lying and pretending that this is a real issue that they have to clamp down on. They're going to create an issue by doing that, which is what they've been doing. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's a huge tactic by nefarious people to try and polarize the citizens of its country to keep them divided, the whole divide and conquer tactics.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to play a clip by a reporter who surprised me, a Fox News reporter later, named John Roberts. It shocked me the way that he was treating this like it's a real thing. But when I thought about it, he is a Washington, D.C. reporter. And from what I understand about Washington, D.C., it's a very liberal, corrupt, living in their own little world place where they act like they build up this false reality for themselves. It's kind of like the media world. They have this false reality for themselves where whites are this huge threatening problem. And it has nothing to do with what's everyday reality. It's like they don't see the riots, the killings, and the coronavirus shutdowns that are helping to destroy America. It's crazy. I call it coronavirus shutdowns. It's really Democrat shutdowns. It's nuts.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of red states, they did better during this than the blue states. The blue states tried to implement as many laws that they could to try and seize power and just take away people's rights. And it seems like that's happening with most Democrats. People want to go and vote for them, and they get social services on the taxpayer dollar, and then by doing so, your rights are taken away. They try and say, "Hey, we don't like free speech. We're all for censorship because that's hate speech." So then there's thought police of people saying, "Well, you can and cannot say because of all right, if you've criticized me, then here's some made-up word that I'm going to use to keep you from criticizing me." And then it just keeps people from being uninformed.
Right.
It creates a lack of a dialogue.
Yeah, it's an attack on freedom of speech, and it's honestly an attack on truth. They don't like the truth. It's wild. Appreciate it, Isaiah. Are you white or what?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right.
Maybe we'll see you Sunday.
Nice talking with you.
Yeah, you as well.
That'd be cool.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Let me quickly get to Dana in South Dakota. She wants to talk about the Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys. Somebody tried to compare the Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys to each other. They have, I've heard of the Boogaloo Boys, right? And from what I understand, it's guys who are what they call accelerationists. They want a civil war. They want to commit terror attacks. These are just stuff that I've heard from reading the news and what I've heard other hosts talk about or something. They supposedly want to commit cop killings and frame blacks for it and stuff like that. And they want to just, Boogaloo is, I guess, their term for starting the Civil War. And so people are pretending that Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys are the same thing when Proud Boys just want to pretty much keep the peace and defend innocent people from Antifa and from Black Lives Matter. Anyway, Dana is on the line about this from South Dakota. What's up, Dana?
What's up, Hake? How you been?
Been well. How about you?
I have been well, and actually it was Biden and the moderator that threw in Boogaloo Boys.
Oh, they mentioned Boogaloo
that.
Boys? I didn't hear hear that their names mentioned. That's interesting.
Well, I want to say that's what they said because
I wasn't
know
listening
they keep
that
doing
closely,
that,
I guess.
Though. They were they keep doing that though. The whole point of it is because they couldn't label Proud Boys a terrorist organization.
Right.
They couldn't do it.
Yeah.
The FBI even came out and said they were not a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
And they keep doing that because that way they're able to throw that in and make them seem like a terrorist organization even when they're not.
Right. They have to just mention them in the same sentence as terrorist organization as though they're on the watch list.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's really messed up that they keep doing it to him because it's Biden even used the word dog whistles. I mean, they always kind of use that stupid terminology to try to, equate to white supremacy. Ooh.
Right.
I mean, it's like they're riding around on looking like ghosts or something. Oh wait, that was Democrats.
Yeah, you know what? President Trump brought up suburbs and how suburbs are getting destroyed by, I don't know if it was the coronavirus shutdowns or what, or if it was the fact that Black Lives Matter is invading the suburbs. But yeah, Joe Biden was all, this is not 1950. Those racist dog whistles don't work anymore. The suburbs are filled with all races of people. As if Trump doesn't know that. Trump wasn't talking about race. He was talking about decent people
Biden
versus.
was so off topic.
Yeah, so
the
phony.
The whole time, it was just sad.
He was
ridiculous.
He was a ridiculous liar. He was so ridiculous. And then the moderator trying to clamp down on
went
Trump.
Along with it.
Yeah.
He was making it, and the caller, I think the caller said before, he was making it easy.
You dropped out there, Dana. Are you there?
And be like, oh, we're moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, he totally took the side of Biden. And then later, but on that interview on Fox News, Chris Wallace said, oh, Biden, he should have let Biden talk because Biden was giving some pretty bad answers, making himself look bad. President Trump could have just allowed Biden to hang himself. No, you were the one who were interrupting Trump, who was addressing Biden. Well, I don't know. Maybe there were times when Biden could have hanged himself by running his mouth and Trump just letting him run his mouth.
He kind of did. The second he wouldn't answer that one question about the Green New Deal, he pretty much did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on his website, for Christ's sake, that he sponsors the Green New Deal.
Yeah, he said, I don't support the Green New Deal. I have my own Biden plan. As I recall, he said something like that. But then you go to joebiden.com or whatever his website is, and it says he supports the Green New Deal. So
yes, and he said that forever too. Well,
I don't know if he was lying or if he was just ignorant. But he doesn't mind lying. He really doesn't mind lying. He'll just say something.
Is it lying if you can't remember? If you can't remember what you had yesterday, I mean, it's just kind of senility at this point.
Yeah, except that
he doesn't know what he's saying.
He is a well-practiced liar. And
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's shameless. Remember, he was the vice president under Obama. And he had no
that
shame
alone is bad enough.
Being a liar and supporting a liar. So, a sick person. Appreciate it, Dana.
I guess when you're a liar for that long, that's what ends up happening. You lose your senility and you end up in dementia and all those horrible things.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's God's punishment.
And he's not looking well. He's looking too skinny.
Not at all.
Old guys are not supposed to be that skinny.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right, Hake, you have a good one.
You too, Dana. Take care. Wow. Joe Maddock gave a ninja-gini for the Jesse Lee Peterson show and says, has any reporter or debate moderator asked Joe Biden if he disavows Antifa or BLM? Exactly. Antifa and Black Lives Matter are way worse and more a threat to America and just outright anti-American, anyway, by the way. Proud Boys, if you look at what they're about, they love America. Even if you don't agree with them going out to these places and fighting with Antifa. Let's say you don't think that that's wise. Stand by, stand down. They are standing up for Western civilization, and they really are. And you could say, oh, sometimes they shouldn't be drinking. Many of them don't. All that stuff. But yeah, Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and honestly, the whole Democrat Party is evil and anti-American. They should disavow them. They should disavow the whole mainstream media. The mainstream media has no validity. They're anti-American. Hydro PX with a diamond says, if you don't have COVID, you ain't cool. Which is a play off of Joe Biden saying, if you're not sure who to vote for in this next election, then you ain't black. Ridiculous. But he said it. I have another one from Noah's Arkansas with a diamond. Appreciate it. Hydro PX. commenting on the last hour, where he says Larry Elder is still a beta. Dang, HydroPX. But HydroPX is referencing Larry Elder disagreeing with Jesse Lee Peterson about whether it's valid or a good idea to discriminate based on a black-sounding name or a weird name, such as Mystique. There's a white girl named Mystique. 373373 gave a diamond and said, based JLP, always the same. Yes, even in 2004, even in 1990. Love JLP. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And it's true. Yeah, Jesse Lee Peterson commented on a white girl named Mystique, white young lady, right? Named Mystique. And he said it didn't necessarily sound like a black name, but it sounded kind of like a stripper name or something. And that's true. You don't have to keep these hippie names. It's crazy. Actually, Jesse has grown. He's become more simple and reality-based over the years. HydroPX says, with a Ninjagini, if weak black males like... Well, he doesn't finish his statement, but thank you, HydroPX, commenting on... He felt that Larry Elder was weak in that thing. But Larry Elder stood up for Jesse Lee Peterson. He said, you know, Jesse Lee Peterson is practicing what he preaches and really helping blacks and everyone. So, I don't know. HydroPX gave a diamond and said, Hake, I like your shirt. Happy Friday, dude. Thank you. Yeah, I'm wearing it actually says Trump on it. But it's a nice faded American flag. And across here it says Trump. I got it from Trump Tower in Las Vegas. I like to go to Vegas and then go hang out in Willow Beach. I recommend it. Not at this time, though. Look, you can see Trump. Can you make it out? If you stand back, it's getting faded. But I can see it. I can read it. Trump International Hotel. Something like that. But, yeah, the Colorado River. It's too hot right now. Don't go to Willow Beach right now unless you can handle the heat. But late fall, winter, spring, early spring especially, then it's advisable. Check it out. It's beautiful Colorado River on Willow Beach. Just an hour past Vegas. Then you don't have to participate in all that degenerate Vegas stuff. Not that you have to anyways. So, here is President Trump condemning the Proud Boys. Let's see, which clip is this? Do you know which clip it is? Can you find it? He did an interview. It was his first, let's call it, official interview. He did a little bit of back and forth with reporters outside the White House. But I think it was his first official interview, since the debate, which took place on, Wednesday or something? Tuesday? And he did it on Sean Hannity's talk show on Fox News last night. And here's what he says about the Proud Boys, who shouldn't even be mentioned in the same sentence as KKK, except that they have no relation. But here it is. Check it out. You have it? Here it is. Check it out.
I have to say, I've said it many times, and let me be clear again. I condemn the KKK. I condemn all white supremacists. I condemn the Proud Boys. I don't know much about the Proud Boys, almost nothing, but I condemn that. But he should condemn also Antifa. Antifa is a horrible group of people. They kill people. What they do to people, and they're causing insurrection, they're causing riots. He doesn't want to do that, but the press doesn't go after him, and that's a really bad group of people. But I condemn them, and if I say it 100 times, it won't be enough because it's fake news.
Yep, it is fake news. What do you guys think? Should he have condemned the Proud Boys? I say, of course not. There's nothing to condemn. Joel Friday here says Trump catered a bit. Yeah, he did. But I'm going to read you some of the reasons why he had all that pressure to do so. And I still say he shouldn't have done that. But it's really silly. It's really silly. But he's right. And you know what? He seemed to honestly break his own rule. he broke his own rule because he knew that he doesn't know anything about them. Except, supposedly the FBI unofficially might have said something about them. I don't know if the FBI ever has said anything. Dana from South Dakota says that the FBI says, they can't call them, put out a statement saying, we can't call them a terrorist group yet. Who knows? It's really evil. But here's part of why. The whole Democrat Party, which for some odd reason are still getting respect which they don't deserve, including the ADL, which is part of the Democrat Party. I say they're part of the Democrat Party. The ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. Isn't that a rich name? They stand for against defamation, not they stand for defamation. Just a lie, a liberal lie. They're supposed to stand in the way of defamation of Jews because Jewish people have been scapegoated in the past as having been a problem, been the reason for destruction, right? And there's, a growing number of Jew critics who don't like what many Jews do. Blacks, whites, Muslims, even some Jews. And so I guess they could still defend themselves, but they make their business giving Jewish people a bad name, the ADL, because they defame white people and Christians. ADL head Jonathan Greenblatt, an evil person, went on CNN, and I don't have the clip for you, but he went up on CNN. I have a link that does play the clip, which you can check out I'll put it on my Hake Report blog post. How's that? Or maybe into Hake News. But he went on CNN, which is another anti-American outlet, communist outlet, supporting everything evil, subversion of the country. Said that Proud Boys are a hate group. They push misogyny because they, venerate the housewife? Yeah, real misogynistic. Misogyny means you hate women, right? But it's a fake term. And so being traditional means you hate women. That's what that guy is saying. They push anti-Semitism, says this guy of the Proud Boys. Anti-Muslim bias, which is also not true. I bet you that there are many Muslim Proud Boys and Jewish Proud Boys. And females who support Proud Boys. And even if it was just all white men, they have the right. They have the right. This is America. Honestly, these people, the ADL and CNN, are enemies of America, Christians, whites, men, women, children. They're even enemies, honestly, of homosexuals. And many of them are homosexuals. But they're enemies of the people who fall for that homosexuality thing or have that issue. Because they're feeding the lie of false identity, taking a false identity in your degenerate behavior, and a false victimhood of catching wrong for doing wrong. Trump knows that's ill-advised, but he, in the same breath, he says he doesn't know much about them. He repeatedly says, I don't know much about them, but I condemn that. Oh, man. So I was reading some comments on this video of him condemning them as Black Lives Matter, as Proud Boys hold a press conference with Black Lives Matter. And these comments are saying, we have, and these are people who are either Proud Boys or agree with the Proud Boys, or they're, in some cases, more extreme than the Proud Boys, saying we have no representation in the government. And forget Donald Trump. One of them even said he didn't even mention the fact that the Patriot Prayer guy a few weeks ago in Portland, Oregon, was murdered by Antifa. But that's not true. I heard Trump say it, and I've played it on the Hake Report, and I think that we've played it on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, that he has indeed called out the murder of that Patriot Prayer guy who was just shot in cold blood by an Antifa Black Lives Matter male feminist who himself got himself killed when the police raided to catch him. He said it's a religious man. Patriot Prayer is basically like a young person's kind of a somewhat related to Proud Boys, at least in my mind, right? I don't know if they have any relation, honestly, but they show up to these events and hold rallies in favor of free speech and religion, Christianity especially. One of their guys has shown up on the Tucker Carlson show, and he seems like a fairly upstanding guy. They just want to stand for what's right. Up in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington, and Berkeley, California. I don't know about if Patriot Prayer has been down to Berkeley, but those areas are some of the most far left, degenerate places that you can imagine in America, where Antifa is allowed to run wild and destroy and beat people up, innocent people, pepper spray innocent people, all that stuff. So Trump said, hey, the Antifa Black Lives Matter guy supporter murdered a religious man, referring to the Patriot Prayer guy. So yes, Trump has stood on what's right. Do you feel betrayed by President Trump saying this stuff? I condemn the Ku Klux Klan. Where even is the Ku Klux Klan? They are a non-entity, basically. Are there any KKK members in existence anymore? Are they committing any crimes or even threats? It's shameful that they even have to play along with it. By the way, I have this picture of Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart. You know that likable guy? I thought of him as likable. He's a comedian. He's respected for working hard because he's an actor too. He does all these funny movies, supposedly. I don't know if I've been able to sit through a Kevin Hart movie, but I think of him as sort of a funny guy. But Kevin Hart, yes, it's in there. Let me just double check that it transferred. Yeah, can you see it? K. Look for K. Kevin Hart posted it on Instagram 2 days ago. At Kevin Hart, #4 reel. Yeah, it's inside that folder. Yeah. THR 2010-02, Friday. Kevin Hart, and this is probably 3 days ago now. He posted out an Instagram post, which is pictures, right? A picture of basically a screenshot of what this guy wrote on his notes or something like that. When Trump was asked to address the KKK, this man said, and I quote, "Stand back and stand by." That's what he put out on his Instagram. And he also put it out on his Twitter and everywhere else. Well, Twitter and Instagram. And it has 1,121,287 likes on Instagram. Have you found it? It's in there. I see it. And then he says, if this wasn't enough to make you go vote, then I don't know what is. Wake up! This is Kevin Hart talking. There it is. This man is promoting hate at the highest level. Oh, blanking racism. Blanking racism. He's saying the F word. F word. Sorry, kids, I didn't black out the cuss words. If you don't see it this way, then you are a part of the blanking problem. And he spelled it apart, meaning apart. It should be apart from the problem. I said what I said, and I will stand on that blank. And Jamie Foxx liked it, and other dummies. Blind people. He thinks Trump said stand by and stand down when asked to address the KKK. Trump said specifically, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. The Proud Boys are far removed from the KKK. And even the KKK, what are they doing but standing back and standing by if they're even not underground anyways? But that's phony Kevin Hart for you. What a shame. What a turnoff, honestly. These people are getting unmasked. I'm kind of happy about it because I made the mistake of thinking, oh yeah, Kevin Hart, he's not into that nonsense politics. He just wants to be likable, which he did a pretty good job of, but he's fallen for it. I'm going to play more clips of other people falling for it, including a Fox News reporter who I am honestly a bit surprised at. And I will be getting to more of your calls and super chats in a couple of minutes here, getting ready for hour 3 of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, filling in. Hang tight, guys.
Other than sex, I wonder, why would a man even need a woman today? Women don't know how to cook. They don't know how to clean. They're in competition with men. They don't want to be wives and mothers. Some want to get married, but they don't want to live in that proper position of life. Because the only purpose of marriage is to have a family. And that's been known forever. And so if you don't want to have children, there is no need to get married. And so I was wondering, why would a man even get married today? I never thought I'd see the day when women would come out of her natural role and be like a man. Even though she hate that role. When she's with a man that's weak, she hate him. But if you try to be strong, she'll stop it. I never imagined that. You're seeing good destroyed and abnormal is presented as normal.
What's up, everybody? I am James Hake. This is the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. I'm filling in for Jesse Lee Peterson this morning. Jesse Lee Peterson is out in Florida, Orlando, Florida, holding as part of a men's and women's conference, the 21 conference for men and women. You can check out details, jesseleepeterson.com. He will be back for church with Jesse Lee Peterson. Excuse me, and we also have the Fallen State premiere with Big Herc coming up. I'll play a clip of that maybe at the bottom of the hour. Just to remind you, make sure you catch Big Herc on the Fallen State, premiering noon today Pacific time, which is 2 Central, 3 Eastern, right? 1 Mountain, unless you're in Arizona, in which case it's noon Mountain Standard Time. What's up, everybody in Arizona? I love you guys. You guys don't observe daylight savings time. Nice. Well, some of you guys don't. Most of you. So, I'm talking about this fear-mongering about so-called white supremacy. And I have this let me just tell you about D.C., Washington, D.C. I came across this tweet on from Washington, D.C., a reporter with Washington Compost, Alexis Dio, a D.C. sign, pull up D.C. sign tweets and stuff. Show the first two especially. This Alexis Dio, or Diao, whatever. She's a Washington Post reporter. Doesn't look very Christian. Because she's saying, Mama and Southern by the grace of Goddess. And she's with Washington Compost. Far left, enemy of America, killing America in darkness, Washington Compost. And she tweeted out this picture that she came across that was attached to a parking sign. 2-hour parking, blah, blah, blah. And in this picture, she says, if only all D.C. streets were this straightforward. Seen on 14th Street. Street signs. And this street sign says, white supremacy kills black people. And, you know, it's made to look, it's some dumb artsy sign made to look like it fits underneath the 2-hour parking sign. But instead it says, white supremacy kills black people. No, blacks kill black people. But this is a Washington Post reporter. Post reports, whatever that is. And she's also anti-male. She retweeted this blue checkmark Twitter person who tweeted amid the debates, I guess, Jill Filipovic, not a Christian, said men are too emotional to be president. That's what she tweeted. Just being nasty because President Trump and Joe Biden were going at it. And then she tweeted out this Washington Post article, interruptions, accusations, chaos. Trump trolled the debate stage, according to the Washington Post, which is not true. President Trump told the truth on the debate stage. And then she retweeted this other guy, another blue checkmark liberal, a male, presumably a male, Wesley Lowery. She retweeted this guy. These are just to remind you about the world that they live in, the false reality that they live in. Wesley Lowery tweeted, stand back and stand by, meaning Trump's statement to Proud Boys, deserved a follow-up question, and it's hard to imagine a black moderator wouldn't have asked one. Just kissing up to the notion of blacks are the victims and Proud Boys are a problem. Such a lie. Such a lie. Let me show you more. It's not just the liberal media. It is the Republicans, RINOs. We got to clamp down on these RINOs. Here is a clip from, let's do clip 15. Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham. This is a news report, local news report. It plays a segment of Trump's debate performance. And then it goes into this report that Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham had a problem with Trump's debate performance. So this is just to show you some of the pressure that President Trump, who has to work with these people, was under. I'm not making excuses for him condemning Proud Boys. That was hardly a tough condemnation, though. He's like, I don't know them, but I condemn that. Yeah, clip 15. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left.
Yep.
It's one of the big sticking points from last night's debate. President Trump's remarks on white supremacy set off a flurry of reaction on both sides of the aisle, including from South Carolina Senators Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott.
Yeah, Caroline Balchunas joining us now with what the state senators had to say about it. Caroline?
A lot of people feel this was an opportunity for the president to denounce white supremacy. His response has been met with criticism, particularly what he didn't say. Senator Tim Scott briefly commented on the issue today. The South Carolina Republican was in Washington to meet Amy Coney Barrett, President Trump's Supreme Court nominee. During that meet and greet, Scott was asked if he finds the president's refusal to condemn white supremacist groups concerning.
I think he misspoke in response to Chris Wallace's comment. He was asking Chris what he wanted to say. I think he misspoke. I think he should correct it. If he doesn't correct it, I guess he didn't misspeak.
Senator Lindsey Graham chimed in on Twitter. Graham said he agrees with Senator Scott's statement about Trump needing to make it clear Proud Boys is a racist organization.
No lie.
He went on to say he also appreciates the president designating the KKK and Antifa as domestic terrorist organizations. Now, we reached out to Democratic Senate candidate Jamie Harrison for a comment. He's running against Graham. In a statement, he said, quote, "Our elected officials must be clear and unequivocal on this, particularly during this shared moment as a country. Hatred and white supremacy have no place in South Carolina, nor should the vile ideas from groups like the Proud Boys be offered safe harbor anywhere across the United States," end quote.
I'm sorry. I thought this was America. I don't know who this Jamie woman is who's running against Lindsey Graham. I have to presume that she's a Democrat. Talking like that. Vile ideas from the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys, like I literally listed off the most extremely traditional, not even extremely traditional, mildly traditional ideas from Proud Boys. We don't apologize for creating the Western world. Or they didn't create the Western world, but they're, the people who preceded us in America created the Western world. And the people who preceded us in Canada and Europe, I guess. If we want to count that, but Europe is going to slop, and so is America. And so is Canada. Slop? Is that the right word? I don't know. Going to rot? It's so phony. And it's such a lie. Exactly. How do they just ignore Antifa? Crazy. It's ridiculous. And what in the world is Lindsey Graham talking about? What a traitor. Speaking of traitors, saying, Trump needs to clarify that Proud Boys are a racist organization. Thank God Trump didn't say that, to my knowledge. He just said, I condemn the Proud Boys. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they are. I don't know anything about them, but I condemn that. Just look out for Trump. I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm suspecting that President Trump will, redeem himself. Like, he'll come back fighting twice as hard. I think. Because I feel like we've been through this before where Trump has had to, not had to, but he's done it. He's kissed up a little bit. But then he knows, reality. He sees what's going on, and everybody else is pretending like they don't see what's going on. Antifa attacking people, destroying people and businesses. The shutdowns are crazy. They don't belong shutting down businesses. And Black Lives Matter is falsely accusing everybody. Joe Maddock gave a diamond. I don't know if I mentioned this one. He says, has the ACLU challenged any illegal coronavirus lockdowns? That's a good question. It's a very good question. This is an attack on freedom, but the ACLU love attacks on true freedom. They're not about actual freedom. They're not even about actual free speech. Have they commented about the social media companies clamping down on the freedom of speech? No, because they don't actually believe in freedom of speech. They definitely don't believe in truth. I don't think that they've ever pretended to believe in truth, in supporting Christians or Americans. They've just supported the false notion of black victimhood, of homosexual victimhood, of female victimhood. They support abortion. They support illegals coming and staying here. They're a disgusting enemy of America, the ACLU, Un-American Civil Liberties Union. Awful. I will be getting to your calls. Hang tight, guys. But Tim Scott lives in that phony world and breathes out those phony lies. And Lindsey Graham. And these are people that President Trump has worked with. Trump has gotten some of them to function. But, you know, the funny thing is, I was watching an independent journalist named Mike Cernovich, who's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show in the Fallen State before. And he pointed out, well, Tim Scott, let's compare the Proud Boys record to your record. How many people have the Proud Boys raped or killed in the country compared to people who have raped, killed, committed violent crimes when you release them from prison in that First Step Act, which President Trump worked with Senator Tim Scott on, along with, I think, Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law, who's a liberal. And they let prisoners out of jail, criminals out of jail, thinking, oh, they deserve a second chance, the First Step Act. Tucker Carlson on Fox News reported instances of people getting killed from those criminals who were allowed out of jail. Who has Proud Boys killed? Nobody. Who have they raped? Nobody. I bet you there's, and he makes a great point with that. So it's so fake. He works with the Democrats. Why don't we condemn the Democrats as a hate group? They are. Anybody who follows them are suckers. Or evil themselves. It's crazy. By the way, I'm going to get to your calls. Hang tight, guys. I got to show you this crazy clip. A couple of crazy clips, actually. John Roberts of Fox News acting very strangely. And, you know, we caught a hint of it. Jesse Lee Peterson's experts and I caught a hint of it, of John Roberts of Fox News. He's just a straight shooting, I thought, just straight shooting reporter. The specialists, we're the specialists, by the way. Well, he's Joel Friday here, and Chris are the specialists. Straight shooters. I thought he was a straight shooter, John Roberts from New York, not from New York Post, from Fox News. This is from New York Post, and this is clips 12 and 13. John Roberts, according to New York Post, is irate over the lack of a white supremacist denouncement, which is so ridiculous. But listen to this clip. He's talking to President Trump's, I guess, communications director, whatever you call her, the press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany. McEnany? Here is John Roberts confronting Kayleigh McEnany.
I'd like to ask you for a definitive and declarative statement without ambiguity or deflection. As the person who speaks for the president, does the president denounce white supremacism and groups that espouse it in all their forms?
This has been answered yesterday by the president himself, the day before by the president himself on the debate stage. The president was asked this. He said, sure, 3 times. Yesterday, he was point blank asked, do you denounce white supremacy? And he said, I've always denounced any form of that. I can go back and read for you in August 2019, in one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. In August of 2017, racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups. I have an entire list of these quotes that I can go through with you. He has condemned white supremacy more than any president in modern history.
Just to clear it up this morning, can you, naming it, make a declarative statement that you denounce, that the president denounces it?
I just did. The president has denounced this repeatedly. The president was asked this. You're contriving a storyline and a narrative.
I'm just asking you to put this to rest.
I just did. I read you all of the quotes, and if you need to see them in writing, I will put them in an email. Hold on.
So, Kayleigh, can you right now denounce white supremacy And the group
I
that
just did. The president has denounced white supremacy, the KKK, and hate groups in all forms. He signed a resolution to that effect. The president just last week, perhaps you all weren't covering it, but just last week expressed his desire to see the KKK prosecuted as domestic terrorists. This president had advocated for the death penalty for a white supremacist, the first federal execution in 17 years. His record on this is unmistakable, and it's shameful that the media refuses to cover it.
Isn't that so ridiculous? What happened to John Roberts? But I guess because he lives, I can only explain it as he lives in that media world and that DC world. That is insane. He's like, but can you, just to put this issue to rest, like that's really going to put this issue to rest. It's so stupid. And it's so devoid, it's so separate from reality. Reality is, what have so-called white supremacists even done lately? The most recent case that I can think of anybody remotely white committing anything remotely in the name of whiteness was maybe that El Paso Walmart shooting, where it might have been a white Hispanic guy shot up a bunch of Hispanics in a Walmart, and he was blaming the Mexicans and Hispanics for overpopulation in America, taking away the jobs. And he's also a environmentalist. He's blaming overpopulation for global warming. And he admits that whites are a declining population, so we're not overpopulating, but the others are, the POCs are. So I guess that was somewhat white something. And that's the last one I can remember, and that was how many years ago? I guess there was something in August 2019 that made him condemn something, which is more than a year ago. Meanwhile, we've had years and decades of violent black crime, blacks hating whites, blacks hating cops, and Hispanics attacking whites and cops and Trump supporters, and Antifa doing the same thing. It used to be Antifa used to just be a punk rock thing, at least in America, as far as I knew. It was the skinheads who were pro-white versus the anti-white skinheads who claimed to be anti-racism. It used to be like an underground thing. Well, now it's an overground thing. They're out in the open, publicly hating America, hating white people, pretending that they love black people. They don't. And just being disgusting. Where is the sense of reality for that? So, of course, John Roberts, the Fox News reporter, caught a lot of hate on Twitter. I don't know if it was even hate. It was just criticism, probably. I'm sure a lot of people hated him for it, right? Because people get mad when you lie to them. And it's a lie that this white supremacist thing isn't already put to rest. Trump kisses up to the notion, he's a boomer. He kisses up to the notion that racism is a real thing, which it isn't, and is bad, which it isn't even real. And that whites, too, are the problem, when they're not. And this is only going to feed the white anger, by the way. False white anger. Just like they're feeding the false black anger and the false Mexican anger. Listen to, I got this from Twitter. Jack Posobiec tweeted it out. Said this is really wild. Here is Fox News' John Roberts reporting back to the anchor on his reaction to the reaction to him asking these dumb questions repeatedly, saying, you just read a bunch of quotes from the past, as if Trump has changed. Trump is the same. Here is John Roberts acting up.
And for all of you on Twitter who are hammering me for answering that question, and for all of you on Twitter who are hammering me for answering that for asking that question, I don't care, because it's a question that needs to be asked, and clearly the president's Republican colleagues a mile away from here are looking for an answer for it too. So stop deflecting, stop blaming the media. I'm tired of it.
All right. John Roberts is tired of it, so we're going to let...
Isn't that crazy? He even put that she was a child actress in Little House on the Prairie. So that's all I know about her. And she also is the one who said, I don't think we need to talk about George Soros. That's the same lady, allegedly, by the way. But he's like, so he's giving credence to the dumb RINOs who are like that Tim Scott, like that Lindsey Graham, who are acting like this is a real issue. Can the child come forward and say the emperor has no clothes? President Trump, he's like the most childlike person there, in that he sees that the emperor has no clothes, even though he's a boomer, and a whole lot of boomers have had years, decades of propaganda pushed on them about, oh, those police were racist who sicked the dogs on those blacks. Racism is real. The KKK bombed 4 little black girls in 1965. Emmett Till and all that stuff. I guess Emmett Till, I didn't even hear about that until Trayvon Martin, when Trayvon Martin was grounding and pounding against George Zimmerman. And George Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin in self-defense down in Florida in like 2012. And then Oprah Winfrey says, this is the same thing as Emmett Till. Didn't she say that? I think she said that. Or maybe it was the Michael Brown case that she said was the same as Emmett Till, who, according to what we're told, looked or whistled or talked to a white woman back during the Jim Crow times, and she said something to her husband or father and brother, and they got mad and allegedly kidnapped Emmett Till and tortured him and killed him and all kinds of crazy stuff. Sounds really evil. And they still don't let that go. The blacks are still holding on to that, pretending that that's happening to this day. What a lie. And I have some reports on black violent crime and black on white crime. The FBI released some stats. I'm going to touch on that. And some of this may go into the Hake report. The Hake report is coming up. Scott Adams, a Trump supporter who's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show in the past. He wasn't exactly a Trump supporter when he was on the show, but he recognized Trump's brilliance. But he said that Trump lost his vote. But then later he said that he got it back. Because the Democrats are just so evil and full of hate. Let me get to Art in Ohio. He wants to comment on Kayleigh McEnany comments. I don't know if it's about this or what, but Art, thank you for calling. What's up?
Hey, what's up with you real quick? My thing is with Kayleigh, now, Kayleigh, because I like you now, so I'm going to have to come on over here. Let me talk to you. All right, now, Miss Haley. My thing is with the judge is now, you said that she went to Notre Dame and she don't graduate at top of her class.
You're talking about what judge? You're talking about?
Yeah, Justice, the Supreme Court nominee justice.
Okay, Amy Barrett. Amy, so-called Coney Barrett. So what did Kayleigh McEnany say? That she said what?
She went to Notre Dame. She graduated at the top of her class. She got
I heard that.
Kids. Okay, so check this out. My thing is, you saying that she graduated at the top of her class, but how did she graduate with her kids in the household? You see what I'm saying?
I don't think she did.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So you talking about her being fair to American and the Constitution and to the doing as far as her being a judge, but how fair is she being to her being a parent, a mom, her doing, you see what I'm saying? Her being there mentally, emotionally to help her kids. And I don't think Miss McEnany is understanding that, because over the last 40 years, you got a lot of these liberal females that think that they supposed to be out here in these schools and then neglecting their kids. You see what I'm saying? And that ain't how America's supposed to be working, and that's not normal. So therefore, that ain't what we want to push. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Now, do we want to go ahead and put Big Meech's as a Supreme Court judge? When I say Big Meech, you're talking about the biggest drug dealer out of Detroit, Michigan, cocaine. Look him up. Long story short, now if you put him in position, then you setting everybody to be looking at that person that's in that position like that's an example of what you want, and that's not an example of what you want. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Yeah, okay, one more thing. Until this day, these females have been out of line. Now I don't understand why y'all think this when you promote bad behavior that you're supposed to get a prize.
I know. It's true, Art. It's a good point. I gotta run, Art. Appreciate the call. Great points about Kayleigh McEnany and Amy Coney Barrett. We shouldn't be promoting women working. We need to promote women raising the kids and the father working and then the father getting back and keeping the mothers and the kids in check. I'm James Hake. We'll be right back. This is the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. I'm filling in. Hang tight, guys.
I just wanted to say that I've been listening to you for a few years now, and when you talk about the illusion of racism and how it's just a divisive tool that the media uses, and it's just good and evil.
Yes.
And that's what we got to focus on. It really has changed my life. My perspective is totally different now. I'm more calm. I'm more peaceful. When you talk about forgiving your mother and letting go of that hate, and it just transforms you. So I just want to thank you for that. And let you know that, you really are doing God's work by waking people up with this message.
Amazing, Aaron. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Sure. I can hear the angels in heaven singing right now. They're rejoicing. That's amazing. Stay with the silent prayer. Speak up, don't resent, and doubt every thought. And Aaron, you have not seen anything. Anything.
We're back. James has great hair says, this isn't Joel. And Crucy says, Hank, you lucky I can lower the volumes on my headset, you sadist. And people are saying that the outro music there was too loud. Sorry about it, guys. We're dealing with some technical issues. And I won't say who's guilty. And I will be opening Jesse Lee Peterson's Treasure Chest on D Live, guys, right now. Okay? Right. Are you able to play that thing? Play that thing. We can't play it, but we are opening the treasure chest now, guys. And as Art was saying, we're manually running the script, and some of the songs are recorded loudly, and the script is able to fix the volume or something like that, I think. So that's what happened. Apologies. Kobadobi gave a diamond and said, Joel, turn the music down way too loud, brudda, LOL. And easily distracted 06 says, break music too loud with a diamond. Thank you guys for donating and saying this. Cactus Eater Bear says, loud music, conspiracy against good hair? Appreciate the support, guys. And I am checking the streamlabs.com/Bond Action Inc., which is also, isn't it called Jesse Lee Peterson .live or something like that? Jesse Lee Peterson Let me just make sure that this works before I go to it. Yes, Jesse Lee Peterson .live works, but you can't really watch the video there, but you can give us support, I think. Appreciate the support, guys. Let me get to Phillip, a first-time caller in North Carolina. Speaking of the Supreme Court, he has some info, I believe, on Ruth Bader Ginsburg, also known as RBG. Phillip, thanks for calling. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Doing fine. Are you on a speakerphone or something? You're not coming through totally clearly.
No, I'm on my. I took the speakerphone off way earlier. No, I'm on the record phone now.
Okay. What's up?
I was calling about what Jesse was saying yesterday about the lady Ruth Ginsburg, about her doing the letting females get credit cards and stuff like that.
Oh, she was what? With credit cards?
She was letting women get credit cards, and also about getting a home.
Oh, okay. So she was pushing for so-called equal rights for women type stuff,
Yes.
working and all that stuff, and getting credit outside their husbands. Are you talking about wives who are married?
Yep.
Having separate stuff from their husbands? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, she was doing that. I looked it up yesterday and I see it. And
Stay close to your phone, Phillip. You're coming in rough.
Hello.
Okay, I think that's better. Yeah, stay close to your phone, stay still, and speak up loud and clear.
Yeah, I said that I looked it up yesterday, and she did all that for like women, and like I was telling, I think it was Chris that was just on the phone.
Yeah.
I told her, ever since it's been a mess, and like another thing, I've been wanting to call in.
Stay close to your phone. It seems like you're moving the phone away from your mouth a little bit.
Hello.
Okay, that's better. So what about RBG that she did with regard to the women getting their own credit cards and stuff and buying homes? What did she do?
She started this, like for women to get like their own like stuff like that, pretty much to be like trying to be independent. And like I was telling Chris, ever since then, everything's been a mess.
Oh yeah, it has been a mess. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, women working is ill-gotten gain. You know, especially when they're having children. When they have children, they should raise the children and not turn them over to the public schools or the babysitters or all these people, daycares. You'll notice that the eat worse people are promoting universal like daycare and universal preschool. They want your children because they want to brainwash them. They want to take away parental rights, and that's what they've been doing. It's crazy.
Yep, to program them to what they want them to do, control them.
Yeah.
And all. And another thing I got to tell you, this Black Lives Matter, it's a joke. It's a joke. If Black Lives Matter so much, then the women will be out there, everybody will be out there protesting the abortion clinic, so black women get the most abortion numbers ever.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
That's true, man. Very true, Phillip.
And I want to tell y'all to keep up the good work. You're doing a good. You're doing good. I know Jesse ain't on the show. Like I said, I've been kind of nervous to call because I didn't want to mess up when I was live on the radio. But y'all doing good work.
Thank you.
Joel and everybody out there, keep up the good work and all.
Appreciate that, Phillip. Don't be nervous. It's just Jesse and James and Joel and Chris and Nick sometimes. Thank you, Phillip. Appreciate it. Good to hear from you. Call again. Maybe I don't know if you're indoors or outdoors or somewhere, but try to get to a better place next time because it's a strain to understand everything that you said.
Okay, I will.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right, y'all have a good day.
You as well. You know what? At noon today, we're having, just a reminder, noon today we're having the Fallen State premiere. Yes, homeschooling is better. The Fallen State with Jesse Lee Peterson. Don't worry, I'm not guest hosting the Fallen State. At noon today, let's play this big Hake preview trailer of today's episode at noon today Pacific time on the Fallen State YouTube channel, thefallenstate.tv. Look at this.
Next time on The Fallen State.
What was life like in prison?
I was always thinking about getting out.
Right on.
I never thought about, oh man, I'm gonna go hang out with these dudes and spread. I'm gonna go over here and play dominoes.
So you were in there 8 years?
8 years, 8 months. People on the street are institutionalized. They buy into the program that's fed to them and they can't think outside of that. If you want to change a country, you pump money into where they have these learning centers, trade schools. When they got rid of all the trade stuff in all the schools,
that was a big
thing.
Yeah.
Welding, auto mechanics.
I agree with that.
Dude, you don't want to make people harder. Why not make them culturally happy? Have a happy society.
Let me ask you about Black Lives Matter and Antifa. What do you think about them?
Garbage.
All this, yeah.
You know, trying to disrupt our communities. It's a false flag. Do I love Trump? I'm a fan.
It's so remarkable how you look at men and even women who are decent and down to earth, logical, sensible, and none of them support Black Lives Matter. None of them support Democrats or Antifa. Every now and then you'll come across a nice, well-behaved person who falls sucker for the Democrats, right? Because they have this huge PR machine called the mainstream media and the RINOs and academia and media and social media. I think I already mentioned the media twice. Who sucker the masses into voting Democrat, but none of them are really sensible, logical, just refreshing. Isn't it so refreshing and thrilling to hear the truth just being said? It's so refreshing. It's like when you heard the Jesse Lee Peterson's appearance on that Larry Elder TV show from 2004, when he just told the common sense truth, not kissing up to this black victimhood about racial profiling and black sounding names and people should just let them have these black sounding names. No, it's an indication of something wrong in society that all of a sudden, come the 60s or whenever this black radicalism happened, that's all these weird black sounding names started coming forward. And yes, it's the culture now, like you cut people some slack or whatever, but it's part of a degenerate culture. We need to return to common sense. It's kind of like if I were to just be as edgy as possible and just dare you guys to judge me, or go out there and, I don't know, with a FBLM t-shirt, right? Something purposely like antagonistic. That's the same mindset that these people, that the culture at large has, that these people have with the black sounding names and with their wild hair. And they just call it, oh, it's natural. No, you're taking pride in this shallow identity when you're not focusing on character. And like I said, there's people that will just name people Shanae now by habit. They don't know any better. They're not necessarily thinking, oh, I hate whites. Maybe. But it's refreshing to hear just the plain truth being told. And on a national level. That's why I support Trump. Are any of you guys going to stop supporting Trump because he disavowed Proud Boys? Are there any Proud Boys listening? Let me get to Mark in Santa Monica, California. He wants to talk about Biden. Joe Biden. What an eye roll. What's up, Mark?
Well, actually, I didn't want to say too much about Biden. Not a comment.
All right.
And a question.
Go for it.
The comment is...
Back off your phone a little bit. Back off your phone just a little, because you're talking too hard into it, and it's coming through crunchy.
How's that?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay, my comment is I would suggest that everyone in the audience Google Rockwell versus Carmichael. It was a debate in the 1960s between George Lincoln Rockwell and Stokely Carmichael. I would like everyone in your audience to watch it and think to themselves who the real alpha man is and who the beta man is. That's my comment. Now,
okay.
Now my question to you is, do you believe that honorable men, conservative anti-communist men like Governor Wallace of Alabama, Governor Maddox of Georgia, Governor Ross Barnett of Mississippi, as well as Herman Talmadge and all the other segregationists of the 60s, do you believe that these were alpha men or beta men? I believe they're alpha.
Okay.
I'm posing the question to you.
You know, I am not familiar with any of them. I don't know much about history. But I do recognize that the South has been falsely smeared. I'll tell you that much. And to this day, they're being falsely smeared. But that's all before my time. And there are people my age who do know history who would be able to answer that better. But I recognize one name that you mentioned, which was Wallace. And then you mentioned Stokely Carmichael, who I happen to know was a radical black person. And sometimes with debates, there is no alpha. There are a couple of betas, but I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Appreciate the tips, man.
Sure. Please listen and make your own determination. I'm sure, having listened to you before, and I wanted to ask Jesse this, but he's not there, and he'd be old enough to know these people. I would highly recommend that you listen to the Rockwell-Carmichael debate.
Appreciate that. Mark, are you a boomer?
I'm 64 years old.
That, I think, is a boomer. Right on, man. I love boomers.
And I love Trump.
Nice.
I love Trump. God bless him.
Did you hear about him condemning the Proud Boys and the KKK, as if the KKK still exists? Did you hear about that?
I did, and it was ridiculous. I think the debate where they were grinding on him to denounce white supremacy was like saying, denounce God, or we're going to denounce you. When in reality, Antifa and Black Lives Matter are destroying America, and these demons, Chris Wallace, the Democrat Party, and the media want to vilify white supremacy. Now, I'm not a white supremacist, but I will say, and this is an undisputable fact, that white supremacy did build the country. But I'm not condemning it because, to prove my point, when they wrote that blacks would be 3/5 of a person, the 3/5 compromise,
counted for 3/5.
That could be viewed as racist. And I'm not against it. I'm proud of my country 100%. 100% proud. There were no problems. And I'm afraid that Black Lives Matter are being used by the communists white communists and black militants are the problem we have in America, not white supremacy. And these two organizations, Antifa and BLA, if they're not stopped, are going to destroy America. Biden wouldn't even condemn or mention Antifa.
I know.
The snake, the coward.
It's ridiculous. Appreciate it, Mark. Interesting points, man. Nice to hear from you.
Sir.
Take care.
Thank you.
I love when boomers and older people speak their mind. And, you know, I've heard, that's the second time I've heard about white supremacy being talked about in good terms. The first time I heard about it was Richard Spencer he said that blacks did better under so-called white supremacy. D-Horo122 says, LOL, no, bro, white supremacy is bad as well. But I don't know if these people really were thinking in terms of supremacy, other than running the country for themselves and their posterity, putting their best foot forward. It wasn't that I don't know, whatever. But interesting. And that's why I love Jesse Lee Peterson's message of just breaking it down to simple good versus evil. Because if you think that it's just Black Lives Matter and Antifa, you may well run off the rails and do evil in thinking that you're fighting evil, when in reality you are evil too. So it's good versus evil. That's why most Republicans are RINOs. They stand like they're good, and most Christians are RINOs, fake Christians. They act like they're so good. Sit in judgment on Trump for his past. And they're not good at all. Crino, that's right, Crino. Christian in name only. Sino, Kino, no R. Chino. I don't know. You guys catch my drift. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. Trump got the virus before Biden. Trump got the virus from Biden at the debate, says Sleepy Dragon with the diamond. Interesting. I heard that Hope Hicks, his advisor, a female, Hope Hicks, got it, and she might have been the one to give it to Trump. Or maybe he gave it to her. I don't know. Bubs Love with the diamond says, Hake on top of your game today. Amazing job. Thank you, Bubs Love. Appreciate it. And by the way, congrats to the Man, we haven't even heard from Joelle Friday or Chris, the two specialists today. Maybe at the beginning of the Hake report, which you'll have to change channels and catch that, I'll let them have their say on what they think of President Trump condemning Proud Boys. Trump has COVID, says, who's the head of Antifa organization? Satan. Satan is the head of that organization. Kid Combo, congrats. Congrats to Brindle and Tom New. Congratulations to Penny Rue and Fanata Ladies. And thank you to Hydro PX, Joe Matic, Nom Anor, or Non Nominor, Noah's Ark, Kansas, Canadian David, Brother of Jesus, Penny Rue, Parnell Patriot, 0341, 373373, and Ghost Murdoch. Appreciate you guys. You know, speaking of coronavirus, COVID. Oh, let's play clip 11. Did you hear about the far left radical black female lesbian mayor of Chicago, Illinois? What a disgrace. Shame on the people of Illinois specifically Chicago, Illinois. I have this headline and I have this clip. Lori Lightfoot. I got this from Gateway Pundit. Cringe. Lori Lightfoot dresses up as what she calls the Rona destroyer. And Rona is black for coronavirus. And I like it. I didn't understand what it meant. I had no idea what it meant, Rona destroyer. I thought it was Dora the Explorer, Rona the Destroyer. But no, it's actually coronavirus. What? I grabbed the entire clip. So watch and enjoy this heartwarming clip of this powerful leader of Chicago, completely serious person, clamping down on black violent crime. No nonsense person. Here is, well, if you're listening to the audio podcast, then you're missing it. Come back and watch the video. Here is Lori Lightfoot and her fellow coronavirus doctor person. Watch this. Got a cape on. Cape says Rona Destroyer. She has her afro and a mask over her eyes and a mask over her face. She's handing out what looks like Halloween candy, but maybe it's condoms or maybe it's Lysol wipes. And she handed something to a black lady who's smiling. She's wearing a Clorox sign and Lysol cans. Hands on their hips, like superheroes. Middle-aged females. Happy Halloween. Coronavirus destroyers. Isn't this wonderful?
So guess what we're here to talk about today? Good afternoon, everyone, and happy October 1st.
Goofy.
I'd like to begin by acknowledging my partner in crime, Dr. Allison Artery, the Commissioner of Public Health. And thanks to the sufficient progress we've made in the fight against COVID-19, earlier this week we announced that we begin easing some Phase 4 restrictions on our businesses, which start today.
Finally.
And though we still have a long way to go on our recovery journey,
Crazy woman. And just like Joe Biden, she has that goofy mask hanging off the side of her ear. I guess that's how you don't lose it. And the podium is decorated in Halloween. They hate Christmas. They hate Easter, but they love Halloween. This almost reminds me of what happened over in Washington, D.C. I think it was in the basement, or actually maybe there is no basement. I think it was inside of that Comet Pizza. You know, that pizza place that's run by a radical homosexual ex-boyfriend, disgusting partner of, and by the way, she used the word partner, of David Brock, I think. And they had this transgender or cross-dressed weird female doing this weird music, supposed to be like artistic, supposed to be sort of fun, but it turns out just being creepy, and they make weird pedophile jokes. It's weird. It reminds me of, you know, like in some straight circles, they'll make gay jokes, right? Well, I guess in the gay world, they make pedophile jokes. It's crazy. But that's Lori Lightfoot. Rona the Destroyer. Oh, no. The Rona Destroyer. She supposedly destroys coronavirus with some cans of Lysol hanging from her hips, and a big Lysol sign over her. Weird, huh? That's the Chicago leadership for you. What a disgrace. How silly. Let me get to Rick in Hampton, Virginia in the last few minutes here. This has been the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. I've been filling in for Jesse Lee Peterson. He is out speaking in Orlando, Florida next day or so. And he will be back for Church with Jesse Lee Peterson, rebuildingtheman.com/church. Make sure you catch thefallenstate.tv as well. Make sure you subscribe to Bond Rebuilding the Man YouTube channel. And support. We're putting out exclusive content on rockfin.com/Jesse Lee Peterson. Some expert segments on predictions for 2020. And also what you really think of President Trump. And we have JLP plays on there, rockfin.com/Jesse Lee Peterson. Also, the same content available if you prefer, or if you're already on there, on subscribestar.com/Jesse Lee Peterson. Those two are pro-free speech. And then there's patreon.com/Jesse Lee Peterson, which is the establishment website. They're not as pro-free speech, but Jesse Lee Peterson is still there. Here is Rick from Hampton, Virginia, on Trump and coronavirus. What's up, Rick? Hey.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Oh, Rick is not ready. You know what? Are we supposed to be ending right now? Yeah. Okay. Are you able to make it happen? Normally we have a computer script that makes it all work. That way the audio podcast is perfectly cut. We don't have to separately create the 3-hour podcast. But the black tech has been in here all day. Yeah. This has been the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. Rick, hang tight. I'll get to you on the Hake report. He did not hear me. And I don't know if it's our end or his end, but we'll check on them. Thank you, guys. JesseLeePeterson.com for Jesse Lee Peterson's stuff. RebuildingTheMan.com for supporting Bond, looking at getting counseling, private one-on-one counseling by phone, Skype, or in person. Highly recommended. It's very fun. It's very cool. RebuildingTheMan.com. Support Bond. It's doing good work. Too loud, says Temperblade. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Take care. It's way too loud. I don't know. That's what they say.
You must know that so you can. Something went wrong, but face the truth about yourself and just first God's kingdom comes. Live the life that we all desire. Serve the God that we all admire. Stand up and be true. I know we can be perfect just like you. I know we can find a way to man up and stand up for if we give our plans up. I know we can have faith in the unseen while we stand up and get back to the way we were designed to be.
So you can something went wrong, but check. I had to get on the track one time. Joel Friday here. Check. Look, stand up. We got fighting to do. We gotta show 'em who boss. He put a Viking in you. He put that lightning in you, igniting the truth. But you beg and blame and lie and hate and never wanna stand for the truth. So what you planning to do? You understand in the loop. You better go talk to your mama, better stop at the drama, better drop all the trauma. Boy, you better stand up and up. Put your hand up and hut. Cause if you don't, then we lose, and then we gotta hear the fake news. Whoa.